Good morning, all. Welcome to the Carroll County Commissioners' open session for Thursday, September 25th. And as we always prefer, we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. And Commissioner Krebs had a conflict, but she will be here sometime during our meeting. And for priority, Carol, I think it's your turn, Commissioner Gary.
I think so. Thank you, Commissioner Conley. Good morning, Carroll County. Got a little bit of a crowd here. I will try to be brief, but I do have something very important to discuss this morning. I think it's very important. One of the more important things any of us could really do. So tomorrow, on February 26th, there's somebody coming home to Westminster. A soldier from Westminster, Maryland is finally coming home from World War II. And I think Commissioner Gordon and maybe some of the other commissioners plan on attending some of the functions tomorrow. But this is important. And I'm going to read a little bit about Private First Class Lawrence Richard Beard from the U.S. Army Air Force, who is, again, coming home to Westminster tomorrow after all these years. Private First Class Beard is from Westminster, Maryland, as I mentioned, and enlisted in the United States Army Air Force back in February of 1941. He was 27 years old at the time of his death. He was assigned to an engineer aviation battalion when forces invaded the Philippines in December of that year. And we all know what happened next. We've all heard about the Bataan Death March. It's a horrific ordeal that those men went through. Americans, British, Australians, Philippines alike. Most of them didn't survive. Thousands of United States and Filipino service members were captured and interned in prison of war camps, and Private First Class Beard was among those reported captured by the Japanese at that time. And they were subjected to that 65-mile Bataan Death March. Imagine that. That's further than D.C. is from here. So that's just horrific. And no water, no conditions whatsoever. We've all seen the documentaries. If you fell out or you slowed down, the Japanese just killed you, executed you right there on the spot. Private First Class Beard died on November 4th, 1942. We do know that, based on prison camp and other historical records, and was buried along 8 other deceased prisoners of war in a common grave. In 1947, the American Graves Registration Service exhumed those buried and sent them to a temporary location in Manila. And then later on, in 2019, those remains were exhumed, and that's where we were able to identify Richard as one of those people that were buried there. My understanding is that his nephew and niece will be attending, in addition to, I'm sure, a lot of other dignitaries. A hero's welcome will be planned at BWI, along the route of the procession, and at Fletcher's Funeral Home in Westminster. I want to thank Lieutenant Mike Karolenko of the Department of Fire and EMS. He has been coordinating a lot of the local efforts, and our Department of Fire and EMS will be participating in this return. I just thought it was worth mentioning that. Hard to believe, but, you know, you leave Westminster in 1941 and never come back, and it's not something that most people can imagine ever happening to them now, but it happened a lot back then. So thanks for the time to being able to just remember Richard Beard a little bit, and he's coming home tomorrow. And that's all for me.
Good morning, Carroll County. Commissioner Guerin, I appreciate you mentioning that. It's something I had heard a little bit about a couple months back that it was going to be occurring, but you know, good for closure for the family and friends, and obviously good to have them back in Carroll County. I've got a couple things that I mentioned real briefly. Last week, myself and a number of my colleagues attended the ARC 70th anniversary event, which was very well attended by the community. Exceptional group, as we all know, that does just absolutely tremendous things in our county, and looking forward to seeing what they do in the future. Also, there's a challenge coin that they gave out to those of us in attendance, which was a nice piece from that day, just for a remembrance piece from the event. But also this week, I attended the Arts Council and assisted in judging the Members Arts exhibit, which I think some of my colleagues have done, and I know some of my other colleagues still are going to go do that this week. Tremendous amount of talent in this community. They're having an event that's open to the public tonight. By all means, feel free to stop in, take a look. There's 2 galleries, as well as tonight you've got the Westminster Fall Fest Parade, which that starts tonight at 7, and then Fall Fest will run tonight through Sunday here in Westminster. Also attended the Shepherd Staff groundbreaking event this week for their new $3 million building. Had the honor to speak at that, as well as had Commissioner Kyler and Commissioner Krebs in attendance. A very well-attended event in the community, and just, again, another tremendous organization that does so much in Westminster and the county as a whole to assist those in need. And then right there is a picture of myself with Velma Green. Velma, as many people know, is an absolute fixture at Shepherd Staff. I've known her since childhood, as her son Chris and I were friends ever since elementary school. Just an absolutely incredible person, and it's people like that that make Carroll County such a wonderful place to live. And that is all for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will certainly associate myself with the comments that my friends up here have made. Commissioner Gordon very capably covered us attending the 70th anniversary of the ARC. And for those of you who may not know, the ARC of Carroll County is an organization that's dedicated to helping those with intellectual and developmental disabilities live life as normally as possible, from simple day-to-day tasks and functions to finding employment. They really are an incredibly wonderful group of people. And what's really awesome is whenever the ARC has an event, they always have some of the individuals who use those services present at those events. And so it's always amazing to hear from those people who've been helped by ARC, to hear about and to learn about their lives and their stories and things that they've gone through and how they've overcome and succeeded. And it really is an inspiring thing, and God bless the ARC for doing what they do. As Commissioner Gordon also very capably said, I had the privilege of going over to the Arts Center to help. And this show really are staggeringly beautiful, and there's no other way to describe that. And so I'm grateful to the Arts Center for allowing us to be a part of this. And then lastly, as always, I had the pleasure of attending this week's meeting on the Commission on Aging and Disabilities. 3 things of note. First of all, everybody's really thrilled with how the Aging Your Way Expo turned out. Everybody's grateful for our participation as commissioners, and they've estimated that over 1,500 people attended that event. And so these are numbers that are pre-pandemic in status. They're already looking forward to next year's events, including next year's expo. So second, there are some vacancies on the Committee on Aging and Disabilities. Representative from Mount Airy is needed, a veterans representative is needed, an individual with intellectual and developmental disabilities is needed, a family representative for someone with those disabilities is needed, and there are a couple of others, and all of these can be is concerned about possible cuts in federal and state funding and how these may end up affecting services we provide to the elderly and to the disabled. And so this could very well have an impact on our budget, and it's worth keeping in mind as we attempt to balance everything, including contending interests and priorities this spring. And that is all for me this morning.
Thank you. I want to mention Chris Nevin, mayor of Hampstead, had put his dad into hospice maybe a week ago, and on Tuesday he passed, and there should be an obituary out today. But and I know I've lost Rhonda and I have lost all 4 parents, and it's tough. It's tough whenever you're never ready. You know, I don't care what you plan, what you do, you're never ready. So I just wanted to mention that, and thank you for the comment on our veteran coming back. That was awesome. And I'll skip the ARC and Arts Council and some other things since it was covered very well. I did go to a ribbon cutting at the Cornerstone Agency in Manchester, right next to Sheets. They've done a great job with that building. They've been in Hampstead, I think, working out of their home possibly, and they moved to an office in Manchester, and they've done great work there, and it's a great couple, working hard, and I was glad I got to go. Went to cabinet, and that's always good. It's always nice seeing all of our directors giving reports to each other. It was great discussion. Over the last 2 weeks, I've gone to the Lippy Brothers company party and the Dell Brothers company party, and I think you have a photo of me with, oh, there we go, a photo with more important people than I, with ex-Commissioner Dell, who's 100 years old and still better physical shape than I am. But it was great talking to him, and he was 12 years, probably,
At least 12.
and
3 terms.
and he wanted to run again, and his wife Leona kind of gave him a line in the sand on why he shouldn't. So he told me sitting there, he goes, "Yeah, I talked you into running for this job." I said, "Yes, but Leona told me not to." So I had very mixed feelings. He just laughed at me. He remembers, but a great guy, and Lippy Brothers, Dell Brothers, great farming families, and it was great to be there. Yesterday I went to Tall's,
Bless you.
which is a crab feed down in Chrisfield, and it's great to see the different people there. It's a fun event. Chrisfield is so flat. Everybody prays for no rain because you almost need boots to walk around if it rains because the water just lays there. But it didn't while we were there. Got to see a lot of people from different counties, some people from Carroll County, and it's just great discussion. We enjoy eating crabs and clams and everything else they have, but it's also great time for discussions. This afternoon we have our Carroll County Public School meeting with them at their office at 1:30.
Yes.
At 1:30. A couple people have told me it was at 1, but it's at 1:30. We alternate locations, so it's at their office, and it's open to the public, but probably no public comment. So I encourage anybody that wants to be there to come there. And I got to meet, I was invited to go to Jeff Sprinkle's house, which that's where we're in, on Monday. The Sprinkle family was there, the Shipley family was there, the Balker family was there, and they're all intertwined. Sean Davis from Boys and Girls Club, if you would look out that window, you'd see the tip of his house across the field, and the MPRP has decided they want to run the power line about halfway between those two houses. Governor Moore came up and talked to the family, and Sheriff DeWeese was there. You can kind of see him on the right in the first picture, and I was there. To everybody's credit, we didn't say a whole lot, but the family members did talk about how it disrupts their way of life. Some of them have 4 or 5 generations have been there, and it's a disruption. I haven't seen a lot of press release or info out since then, but he did tell them that he's going to fight this, and then after we spent about an hour in the house talking, a couple of the family members and his staff and Governor Moore did a ride across the field. They showed him where the power lines are going and what all they do. And it's interesting, they talked about the disruption to farmer and to farms, and I had forgot to mention Dave Bullinger was there. He's on AgPres land, and he got to bring up, how he chose not to do 18 houses. He chose to be part of AgPres. He wouldn't be allowed to do this, but they can just disrupt him and run across him. So it was a very mixed, good conversation. And then the other part, I forget which one, probably Mrs. Shipley. One of them brought up how much Balkers does for the community, how much they sell, and how that would be disrupted. It goes right through strawberry fields, and it's there. It's going to affect what they produce too. So I was glad the governor came up, and it was nice to meet all those families. It's like I told the father that's the head of all of it, and I said, this shows you in Carroll County you can't talk about anybody because the person next to you is related to them. And he just laughed and said that. And he said it a little bit, but he said, let the current farmers talk. So I'm hoping we get some support on this, and it's interesting. And we've done some letters. We've objected to them not using Miss Utility, and we've done some letters, and all of us have strongly fought this since we first heard about it. So, and that's enough for today. I've bored you enough. Thank you. Now, you're going to share a retirement. It's a big one.
Yes, a very big one. If we could have Joe Vance come forward. I know she's thrilled with me this morning.
She's really been looking forward to this.
And anybody else?
Anyone else want to come up with her? By all means, feel free.
I think that would be Tim, probably, yeah.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Joe, these are the commissioners of Carroll County.
Thank you
They are the
for spelling
government.
that out for
They're our
me.
Local government.
I wasn't sure.
But they're not the liquor board or the BZA commission.
Hey, Tim, if she did care who we were, she doesn't have to anymore.
Good morning, commissioners. Joe and I go way back. She started as the office manager for the county attorney's office almost 20 years ago, when we had a lot more people running around in that space, and I was a low-level, thin, fresh-faced, optimistic young attorney that was gonna set the world on fire.
I've gone into fiction now.
After a few years, she then transitioned successfully to the Office of Administrative Hearings, and much to her delight, she left our office and went down to the first floor and had her own space down there, where she worked very closely with the Liquor Board and the Board of Zoning Appeals. So she had her own office. And then I guess a year and a half ago or so, much to her chagrin, she found herself returned to the third floor back in my office. And since then, she's worked dutifully with all of our boards and commissions. And she's also been an invaluable service to, in addition to the boards and commissions, our office in general. She's always been very helpful. She's fattened us up with a lot of cakes and goodies over the years, and we're all wishing her a very well-earned and fruitful and relaxing retirement. She deserves it. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Tim.
I mean, what can we say after Mr. Burke has filled us in? But I do have a couple things here. So, certificate of recognition. This certificate is awarded to Darlene Joe Vance in recognition of your 19 and a half years of dedicated service to Carroll County government since February 2006. We thank you. Your career in public service began as office manager in the Department of County Attorney's Office, which led to your current position as the Administrative Hearings Coordinator in the same department. Your work requires accuracy and exceptional communication with county employees, boards and commissions, residents, business owners, court personnel, and legal teams. You will be missed for your historical knowledge of the county and your outstanding customer service to everyone you meet. We wish you a relaxing, happy, and healthy retirement, and thank you again for your committed service to Carroll County. Signed, all 5 of the county commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just start by saying I have absolutely enjoyed our conversations and interactions as I've been here. You will definitely be missed. I will miss being able to come over and chat with you, and you can tell me that Mr. Burke's not in his office. But, you know. But absolutely wish you the absolute best in retirement, Joe.
Thank you.
And prior to being Board of Ed or county commissioners, when I had a question about particularly maybe BZA, I don't think I ever ran afoul of the liquor board, maybe. But you were the contact, and I appreciate the answers. And speaking of liquor board, you have anything to say about her, and you're going to miss her?
I started 9 years ago as a liquor board inspector, and she worked with me with open arms. She made my job so easy, carefree. It's been a pleasure to work with you for the past 9 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Joe, I'm definitely going to miss you. You have such a sweet way about you, and it really is going to be a loss not having you here. But I do have to ask, what's next? What do you have in store for yourself next?
I'm going to sleep late. Other than that, I don't have any firm plans except I've signed up for the community Bible study.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I think she wants to be on the liquor board or the zoning board, don't you, after all these
Yeah.
years?
maybe.
Yeah, And I've
Tell you
got
how to
to
apply.
piggyback your comment. You've always been very sweet until I was late with my disclosure of financial, and then you weren't so sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. It'll be a big change not seeing you over there. But I want to wish you the best of luck and thank you for everything you've done. And I guess now we're gonna turn the floor over to you if you'd like to.
Oh, I didn't know I was going to have to
You
speak.
can if you'd like to.
Well, I just want to say it's been a good place to work. The county takes care of its employees, and I'm going to miss all the camaraderie. I really enjoy being around people. I really enjoy the people I work with, and even Tim.
He does try to cook for you occasionally.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does a good job of that. So I'm really going to miss everybody, but I am looking forward to downtime. So, thank you.
Well, God bless you, Joe. God
Well,
bless you.
Good luck with everything, and we want the whole group up for a group picture. We probably need to stand
up
up
here.
here
Yeah.
because so many of you, but
Come on, Melvin.
It's dangerous.
Oh, we're gonna have to squeeze in.
come on in.
Somebody get on the other side. Melvin doesn't bite, Tim. Tim,
How come nobody
Yeah.
wants to be
a
with
couple
you?
people might.
We need to fix that.
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Yay, Miss Joe.
Thank you, congratulations.
Finally got everybody in my office to smile.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, now Commissioner Garen's going to share with us.
We've got some big names leaving us this morning. Bobby, you want to come on up, and anybody else you'd like to? Wow.
Lots of retirements. Thank you, Charlie.
Well,
Hello. Admittedly, I've only been here 2 weeks, but Bobby has left a huge impression on me already. And I think I've asked her at least 3 times if she's sure about this decision and may potentially reconsider. She is going to leave huge shoes to fill. She's been here 25 years, is beloved by her team, her coworkers, and the clients that she serves in as the manager of client services. So we wish you great joy in your retirement. I'll ask one more time if you might reconsider. But, Charlie, did you want to say something?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I just wanted to say that it's been a true privilege to work side by side with Bobby these many years. She started as a client services analyst, a position that provides direct support to county agencies and governmental partners, and then for a number of years now has headed up that division as the manager of systems and client services. And I would say that the hallmark of that time has been exactly that, services. People who know Bobby, work with Bobby, and benefit from Bobby's work know that she is extremely service-oriented, and that's, of course, what we're about. It's very difficult to stay a step ahead in the technology world if Microsoft decides to make a major or a minor change. Often it's felt in hopefully small ways, but often in very large ways. And Bobby has been in the trenches working through all kinds of problem resolution and coming up with creative ways to keep the trains on schedule and keep people supported. And that's been the hallmark of her career here. And while we're extremely, extremely happy for her, we're also a little bit sad for ourselves because we're going to miss her a great deal.
So we have a plaque.
Oh, right, okay. Very nice. Well, yeah, please bring that up with you when we do the pictures. That's very nice.
Yes.
Nicely done. Well, I'll read the certificate of recognition, and then, you know how this works, Bob. You're not going to be able to get out of here without making a few comments. So,
I'm thinking.
in your 25, I have a certificate of recognition signed by all 5 of the commissioners. In recognition of your 25 years of dedicated service to Carroll County government, we commend you for your journey that began in September 2000 as a client services analyst and has led you to your current role as systems and client services manager in the Department of Technology Services. Your time with Carroll County has been one of growth and change in the field of computer technology, and you have consistently developed new skills and taken on greater responsibilities as you advance within the organization. Your leadership, professionalism, and exceptional customer service will be greatly missed. We wish you the best as you transition into this new phase of your life, and thank you for your career and your time here in public service. Appreciate it.
Thank you. For my words, I guess I could just say that I have really enjoyed working for Carroll County. I worked 10 years in Anne Arundel County in basically the same role, and I like Carroll County better. So it's really been a wonderful place to work. I can't say that enough, and always encourage people to apply here. We have a lot of really good workers, a lot of really very decent people. All of us of one mind of just doing the best we can for the citizens and doing it as frugally as we can. So it's always another high priority. But I will miss everyone a lot. I live in Carroll County, so I will still be around. And if anybody has a question, I've told them they can still call me.
So what comes next? What's on the agenda next?
When I was younger, I always wanted to be an art teacher. Not that I'm going to be an art teacher, but I would like to kind of re-explore my artistic desires, to try to do some drawing and painting. Also animals, I'm interested in maybe doing some sort of thing with animals. I intend to join some groups at my church to maybe get involved in those as well. So I'm going to fill it up. I won't be bored, I don't think.
Awesome. Well, God bless you in everything that comes next.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to compliment the whole department, and particularly you. I've used the helpline a lot, and you guys nobody's told me that's a stupid question. It's been very friendly, and out in the private industry, sometimes IT's not particularly friendly. We decided all our foremen should have an iPhone and an email address. So I got a bunch of calls. How do I set it up? I said, contact IT. I'm not talking to them. So I would say, what age are your kids? If they'd say 20, I'd say, they're set it up for you. If they'd say 40, I'd say, you got grandkids? And everybody that Monday was all happy that their iPhone was set up, but they were afraid to contact IT, and I don't feel that way here, so keep having patience with me.
Just wish you the absolute best on retirement. sounds enjoyable with what you're planning on doing. And, you know, if you do at some point decide you want to do some art classes, there's a number of really wonderful nonprofits you could probably assist with if that's something you'd want to think about.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'll think of that. Yeah, that is a good idea.
Okay, we're ready for a photo, and we've got a big group here.
Sort of. A lot of my people that aren't here, so people working from home and.
Tend to, or they're helping their clients. I'm sorry.
Keep taking them.
Good try, Dorothy. Keep working there.
Okay, speaking of technological services, we're now going to talk about a contract renewal for software.
And Corey.
Nice to see you again so soon, Allison.
Yeah.
Been a
Morning,
while.
everybody.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Project Docs is what we're here to talk to you about. It's an
Corey gets to go.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You
Still getting used to things.
You can speak. I'll just sit.
Next week, we won't tolerate that.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Technology Services, requests your approval to renew the contract with Evolve Software for Project Docs Plan, E-Plan SAS, in the amount of $84,445.80. This amount is approved in the FY26 adopted budget.
Is it okay now? Project Docs is an electronic document review system that offers a comprehensive solution for managing and analyzing large volumes of documents efficiently. Additionally, electronic document review enables better compliance with regulatory requirements and facilitates quick access to relevant information. Project Docs electronic plan submission and review will give internal reviewers, citizen customers, and all additional approval agencies secure access to plans, documents, and stored data in a way that lets them work together more efficiently, exercise control, and leverage the value of the information they interact with.
I'll make a motion to renew the contract with Evolve Software for Project Docs E-Plan SaaS in the amount of $84,445.80.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Babylon Vault, who does so much in the Carroll County, is going to talk to us about the Vietnam Traveling Memorial Wall.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Tammy. How are you?
Very good, thank you. I'm supposed to hit F5, so we'll see how that goes.
What do you do?
Tammy, you need
Pull
to,
up a
your
pres-
Yeah, they said,
presentation's
Chris
minimized
said that
there.
I had to hit F5.
Use the mouse.
just find your presentation first.
We got Matt coming to help you.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, hold on.
Thank you. We're doing that, okay. He just said F5, thank you.
Oh, Matt, can you?
Matt, start, sit and present.
Yeah, right.
Right there, okay. There you go. Perfect, thank you. All right, again, good morning. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm Tammy Ray from Babylon Vault. I'm the Community Relations Director and also planner and organizer for the Vietnam Memorial Traveling Wall. I really appreciate the time you're giving me today. This is a very proud moment for the county, and we greatly appreciate the county's support. Babylon Vault is so proud to have honored and welcomed home 150 Vietnam veterans over the last 4 years. And we're also honored to remember our fallen hometown heroes on National Wreaths Across America Day. This year marks our 8th year bringing Wreaths Across America into Carroll County, where we're going to have 49 approved cemeteries, laying over 6,000 wreaths. This year, Wreaths Across America is Saturday, December 13th. We invite the community to remember our hometown heroes, and we thank you, each of you, for being a part of that ceremony every year. The patriotic spirit of our community and neighboring counties leads us to this event. Each and every person who sees the wall has their own personal why and will leave an impression and etch a memory for a lifetime. My personal why for this exhibit is an important one, as my uncle served in Vietnam. He served 3 tours flying Hueys, delivering supplies, and flying out the wounded. And I remember as a young girl the tattoos on his arm, but what I remember most as a small child was seeing the effects of Agent Orange. I have been to the Vietnam War Memorial once as a tourist, but it took a brand new meeting back last April, over a year ago, when I was a guardian on my first venture with the honor flight to DC. I was a guardian to a Korean War and Vietnam veteran, and seeing the wall through their eyes was truly impactful, which allowed me to see the wall in a different way. And my apologies, I get emotional every single time. Helping them find the name on a panel was emotional. While the wall was bustling with people and many waiting for a space to get their panel, it took a new meaning when we rubbed the name of their fallen brother in arms. The excitement finding the name drew tears in their eyes while we did the rubbing as they fell silent in would-be memories of their past. This day solidified my other why, to bring the wall to Carroll County, to allow our veterans the opportunity to visit the wall and the peaceful, quiet, rolling hills that we call home. It eliminates the hassle of parking, driving to our nation's capital, which can be daunting, and the crowds intimidating, giving them the strength, peace, and comfort of familiar surroundings and giving them the courage to do so, to allow their healing process to begin. This is also the opportunity to reach for the teach. The wall is a powerful symbol of remembrance and a reminder of great sacrifices made. It serves as a tribute to the valor and sacrifice of those who served. The over 58,000 service member names are inscribed on the wall. Over 2.7 million Americans served in the Vietnam War. The average age was 19, with the youngest on the wall being only 16 years old. Back in 2009, Kevin Dayhoff reported that there were 1,046 Marylanders that made the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam. He went on to say we had 17 killed in action, 1 missing in action, and 1 prisoner of war. They were someone's son, or father, or brother, or uncle, or a cherished friend. A special mention in the commemorative brochure will list all of these individuals to make sure that we know that our fallen heroes will be remembered. We have seen the profound impact of many through our events, some afraid and some proud, most proud, and all thankful for sharing the love and pride and gratefulness for their service at our events in the past. It is now time to give these veterans an opportunity to heal and to teach our community of their valor and sacrifice. This multi-day event will be deemed an historic one for this county, and I'm going to explain the importance of why for this mission. Now, let's move this mission forward. The wall will be coming to Carroll County at the New Windsor Fire Department Carnival grounds in a few short weeks. It will be October 9th through the 13th. The Vietnam Tragedy Memorial Wall is a 3/5 scale of the Vietnam Memorial in DC, standing 6 feet tall at the apex and covers almost 300 feet from end to end. This traveling wall stands as a reminder of the great sacrifices made during the Vietnam War. It was made for the purpose of helping heal, rekindle friendships, and to allow people the opportunity to visit loved ones in their hometown who otherwise may not be able to make that trip to DC. This is the wall during the day. And this is the wall at night. Carroll County has a very large population, and this was done several years ago. There are over 3,000 Vietnam veterans here within the county alone. And it's time for we recognize them, give them a safe space to come, allow them to begin their healing journey. We remember veterans leave a war, but war never leaves that veteran. This is the wall that heals. We have seen, and I have seen in this journey since last April, walking lockstep with a lot of Vietnam veterans, and they continue to join this committee. I'm so blessed to have this committee surrounding us, and I will say every single detail I've leaned into a very specific squad of Vietnam veterans who are making sure that my true north is represented for them. We're going to be enhancing the experience because it's important that we reach for the teach. Some of the components include military artifacts. There's over 500 Vietnam artifacts that will be on display. This particular display comes from a gentleman out in the Midwest who takes painstaking efforts to make sure that every single item in this tent has been vetted by a Vietnam veteran. Why I say that? Because we know there are certain triggers within these Vietnam veterans. They came home to an unhero welcome, and they were basically a vet on the shelf for all their lives. It's now time for them to come out and see, and for the community to see what they endured. This gentleman actually will take and present items to his forum of Vietnam veterans and ask them their thoughts on that, because he wants to make sure he minimizes these triggers for these guys. For example, the tent for which is that's going to be exhibited, he asked these gentlemen, what do you think about this tent? And every single one of them said it's a happy space. We remember playing cards, having a beer, having a cigarette. He also presented a poncho that had a little bit of dirt on it. One of the veterans says, absolutely not. You can remove the dirt, you may have it, because each one has their own specific triggers. Again, there's going to be over 500 Vietnam artifacts on display. There will be a section called Knowing Your Enemy, where he's going to have uniforms, booby traps, medals, to name a few, for us to see what the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese Army wore during that time. And it will be ADA compliant. We're going to have an awareness night for Agent Orange. That will be on Friday night. That's going to be an important night for me personally. I know Sheriff DeWeese, his father passed from Agent Orange, and we're hearing many, many more. We are going to be lighting the wall orange in memory of those who have fallen from their exposure to Agent Orange and those that are still fighting the fight. We will be taking and inviting the community to take and light an orange candle in front of that wall in memory of a loved one. We will also have an exhibit called Faces of Agent Orange, where we're inviting the community to bring a photo. That information can be found on our website, where we're going to be having a display, because we know those that have been impacted by Agent Orange will never be on the wall. So we're giving them means for them to display a face of their hero, and that will be on display in the Faces of Agent Orange. And that will be on Friday night, October 10th. On Saturday, October 11th, we're super honored to be able to have our several POWs speak at that evening. I'll talk about that in a few moments. But we still have over 1,500 missing in action, of which one is a Carroll Countian. Sherman Flanagan Jr. is still missing in action to this day. So we're going to be lighting 200 white luminaries in front of that wall. And again, we're inviting the community to be able to come out and help us with that. We're actually, I just visited with a social studies group here, for the county a few weeks ago, and I'm hearing people that are, classes that are bringing children out for field trips. This is that Reach for the Teach component that is so important. We're also going to have a war dog exhibit. I had the honor and privilege of interviewing Don Justice, our Vietnam K-9 handler. He is too frail to come and speak that day, but we will have his interview on a loop on display with at the war dog exhibit. We know there were over 4,000 war dogs that served over in Vietnam, and they saved over 10,000 lives. What these Vietnam handlers did along with their dogs is unfathomable. But at the end of the day, they saved lives. So we're inviting the community to go and visit that exhibit because there's so much to share from Don's story. We're looking to have a living history and as well as military vehicles during that era. We will also have Vietnam nurses that will be talking about their time in service along with their uniforms and their full purpose of why they were there. We will actually have a Huey landing coming in on Saturday, October 12th. This Huey is actually a restored Huey, and that will be coming in barring weather on that Saturday, landing around 10 a.m., and will be on ground for about 4 hours. The rain date will be on Sunday. This helicopter was part of the Vietnam War-era fleet that delivered supplies and transported wounded soldiers. This Huey was combat wounded. We will also have one of many dignitaries coming to speak. Oliver North will be our opening speaker. We're so honored to be able to have them. And I'm hearing from our Vietnam veterans, they cannot wait to shake his hand and to be able to welcome him to Carroll County. We are so honored to have, as I mentioned earlier, 2 POWs from Vietnam speak. Everett Alvarez, a retired U.S. Navy officer, endured the second longest time as prisoner of war at the Hanoi Hilton, spending over 3,113 days in captivity. He is well-known Navy fighter pilot, and he will be on our stage on that Saturday, October 12th. In addition, we have a Marylander who was a POW, Colonel John Furr. And again, he endured over 6 years in captivity. 2 of those years, his cellmate was John McCain. This particular image here doesn't require any commentary. It speaks volumes. We are so honored to be able to introduce an essay and art contest that has been deployed out to the county for our middle and high school students. The theme is going to be the weight of the names, and there will be information on our website concerning that. And that concludes the abbreviated version of the presentation. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Well, I want to say thank you for spearheading this and putting this all together, and I want to compliment you not just for this, but for the Reads Across America that you organize every year. And I want to extend my compliments to everybody who's part of this group, getting this wall here. I mean, it is not a simple or an easy thing to do. I mean, we've talked about it from up here before, mentioning to people who watch us about how much work goes into this. And maybe if you could take just a second to talk about all the subcommittees and the committees and all the different individuals who are volunteering to do this, no less, volunteering their time, their money, their effort. It really is a community effort.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Joe. For the sake of time, I abbreviated that. Thank you for the platform to do so. As I mentioned, I have been very blessed for a very strong and growing committee around this. This is not possible without the hands of everyone. I have been involved in a lot of committees in my lifetime, but I have never seen a committee where it's been a constant of 50-plus people in attendance, all ready to raise their hand and do their part. We have a beautiful group that have offered their creativity behind this. The vision has always been making it unique, making it ours. And we have Angelica Da Vinci, who has taken the vision of, I wanted a dog tag chandelier. She has created 200 dog tag chandelier that is symbolic, that will be placed at the POW MIA tent. It's simply stunning. We have a Valor Memorial that has been created. Vietnam veteran Carol Smith created this. It's a V. The vision has always been, I wanted a V for Valor to be outside in front of that wall. It's huge. It's about 7 feet wide and about 3.5 feet tall. Then I wanted to take and incorporate scenes from the Vietnam War. So have John Stewart, also known as Hollywood, has taken and airbrushed scenes on all 3 sides of this triangle, which is our Valor Monument. We have Zach Graphics, who has created the commemorative brochure graphic. He has also is working on a POW graphic for us that will be used on a wreath that we're going to be having wreath laying on that Saturday night. We have, let's see here, Andy, who with Little Varmint Creations is creating the vision again. I wanted the faces of Agent Orange, and I wanted a tree created that would be symbolic of what each of that element of that tree is, whether it's the trunk, whether it's the branches, or whether it's the leaves. And Andy brought that to life. It will be unveiled that night. Also, I created a poem that will be accompanied with every person that comes with a photo of their loved one or friend. We're going to laminate that picture. We're going to give them an Honor the Fallen or an orange ribbon for Agent Orange awareness, and we will give them a poem that will be have the image of that tree as well as the remembrance of that Agent Orange awareness. The committee itself have been going places, picking up supplies, reaching into the community to try to get the donations. I have never, in my wildest dreams, would have realized that this community has stepped forward not only for generosity through in-kind donations, but for dollars to be able to bring this in. We are so blessed within this community. This community, I have often said, bleeds red, white, and blue, and this certainly does shine the light on that. I hope I answered your question, Commissioner Joe.
Perfectly. Thank you, Tammy.
Well, very well spoken and comments. It's incredible what this community does, and I know I have not been in attendance. I know Commissioner Vigliotti's been in attendance at some of the meetings. I know a number of other people that have been in attendance, and I've been hearing updates, and just what a tremendous occasion, I guess, for Carroll County to have this. Like you mentioned, we have so many veterans from that era that were not welcomed home the way they should have been. And I think it's nice to see that we'll be able to give them some closure and respect, which we've done at a variety of other events, but I think this one definitely will hit home even harder. And can't thank you enough for doing the memorial on Agent Orange. That is just something that's touching so many people, family, friends. I could go down a list of people I know personally. It's remarkable what those individuals were put through and how it's even lingered and carried long past them coming home with health issues and so forth. But just truly appreciate everything you and everybody else has done involved with this, and looking forward to coming out and attending.
Thank you, Commissioner Tom.
Absolutely.
The Agent Orange awareness component, we will have the Vietnam Veterans of America that will be out there speaking that evening, because we have learned over the years that not only is it impacting the Vietnam veterans, but it's also generational, and the fact that it's having lines down family lines, right? So you're going to hear more about that. So yes, very important, very personal. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming in, and yeah, this looks incredibly amazing. So I look forward to being there, and I want to take the opportunity also to thank Commissioner Vigliotti for all your work you've done on this. You've been speaking about this effort in Babylon for years now. So thank you very much for all the work you've put into assisting and keeping the awareness up amongst the board.
Well, thank you for that. And thank all of you for your support.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Joe has been a constant, I will say, so
Yes.
thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for this. There was a smaller replica, little advertisement at the aging facility, and it's depressing sometimes, but it's necessary. I'm that generation, so I know a lot of the names and know a lot of the families that have names on that, and we need to do something. Commissioner Guerin talked about how people were welcome home, and I know people that was spit on. I know people that would, and we're so naive. It's like, whatever, you're coming back from there or basic training or whatever, and you change clothes in the airport so you don't get spit on. Well, they can look at you and your haircut, and you're not fooling anybody, so you still got spit on. And it's just so great to do this, and the Wreaths Across America for all the veterans. That's just awesome. I know my church has been involved since it started, and it's just a great day, and it's great to see the families there. It'll be great to see this and the families there. So thank you. Thank you for all you do, and nice meeting you. So I'll realize now that you have a face with the emails, if you stop emailing me, it's my fault, but thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. It's very much a pleasure meeting you as well. And to your point, the float that we have out there is actually was created by a Vietnam veteran. That was his vision, that was his passion. He felt it important to come out and show the community what our 18 Carroll Countyans, it's a visual, right? It's impactful, as you mentioned. So that is going to be out and about and continue. And I'm so, so, so pleased to share that all of these little items that we're creating, the wall float that we've created, will have a permanent home. CCVIP is going to be taking all of this, so it will stay within this county. And the vision is it will be a museum for the future to be able to come and visit. So I'm so honored for them to be able to take on to that. And then to your point, I have become very, very good friends with these Vietnam veterans, and I will never share their stories, but I have heard a lot, and it will make your skin crawl, because what they endured is unfathomable, as I mentioned. So I am considered one of them, and I'm so honored to have that, and to the point where they have actually turned over their photo albums to me, and that was a huge moment. So I will be sharing through a tent, through the lens of our Vietnam veterans. They will not be identified out of respect for their privacy, but you're going to see pictures that you would have not, that came from their personal photo albums. There's so much more that I can talk about, but I had a 15-minute block, so I abbreviated it, but you guys opened the door, and I thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And you guys will take this down? Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
God bless.
Now HR is going to share with us about ongoing employee assistance program.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Human Resources, requests your approval to use BHS to perform ongoing employee assistance programs for Carroll County in the amount not to exceed $29,800. This amount is approved in the FY26 budget.
Currently, the Employee Assistance Program provides resources to help our employees with, and their household members with, personal or professional issues that may be affecting their work or family responsibilities. It is available 24/7. We have been with BHS since 2022. And are very pleased to say, with the help of our benefits consultant, we were able to negotiate a 3-cent decrease for calendar year 2026 and 27 and 28, so a 3-year rate guarantee.
That's awesome. I'll make a motion to approve ongoing employee assistance program to BHS for Carroll County in the amount not to exceed $29,800.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Fire and EMS to talk about billing services.
Morning, Chief.
Morning.
The Office of Procurement in cooperation with the Department of Fire and EMS requests spending authority approval to spend up to but not to exceed $230,000 for fire and EMS billing services to Digitech Computer LLC for the remainder of FY26. Digitech Computer LLC is an approved term contractor with Carroll County. This amount is approved in the FY26 budget.
Good morning. Digitech is the third-party vendor that bills ambulance services for the Department of Fire and EMS. This past year, they processed approximately 24,000 calls for services. They work closely with our internal billing technicians who audit the calls for accuracy and completion prior to sending them to Digitech, who actually does the billing under the name of the county commissioners. Digitech currently handles EMS billing for our 16 medic units that operate out of 13 of our fire stations.
I'll make a motion to approve the spending authority for fire and EMS billing services at Digitech Computer LLC in the amount of $230,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Can you share with us a little bit for those that might be listening? So you bill for services, and the majority of the money Carroll County receives is insurance money, probably Medicare, Medicaid money.
Correct.
What do you do? Suppose you sent me a bill for $1,000 and my insurance paid $700. What happens then?
Yes, so what happens is we submit that, and we only ask, we do soft billing, so we ask for the amount that either any of the third-party payers would provide. So that would either be the private insurance or Medicare or Medicaid. We don't go after them for individual payments. We just want to collect what's available.
I think it's important that taxpayers know that, you know, and again, I'll do a commercial for that right now. Despite this, the volunteers still do a lot with volunteer money, and they desperately need our support.
Yes,
This
so
doesn't.
this funding goes into the operating budget, which serves obviously to help pay for our costs, both personnel services, equipment, operating expenses.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Department of Management and Budget is going to give us an update for the year that's ended, right?
Hello, Ted.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Heidi. Thank you.
You know where it is? Is this the-
Chris said it was on the PowerPoint that's on there.
That little, looks like a television on a, yeah. Television on a
I go to the top. 3 ways to do everything.
Okay, so this is a look back at fiscal year '25, the year we recently left. But the real purpose of this is a first step toward thinking about the fiscal year '27 budget, which you'll be tackling in the not-too-distant future.
Those years keep rolling along. don't they?
And on the year-end fiscal year '25, after the audit is finished, the comptroller will be in here to talk about financial position for the fiscal year '25 in a bit bigger way than what we're going to do here today. So we're going to talk about these pieces in a little bit more detail. When I say a little bit more detail, this is a short session today. We're not going to go into a lot of depth, but give you some idea. Revenues will be are about $34 million in excess of what we budgeted. The reserve for contingency had $2.8 million left in it, and other unexpended across all budgets is another about $14 million, for a total of about $51 million. Now, we're going to talk about this more, but just at this moment, that doesn't mean there's $51 million because the board made choices to use much of that during the fiscal year '26 process. So now, in a matter of 2 minutes, I've talked about fiscal year 25, 26, and 27.
Might be a record.
Okay, so that same $51.4 million is at the top of this. You had unassigned fund balance already in place from fiscal year '24. During the fiscal year '26 process, you committed $48 million of that 51.4. We have a planned carryover, 1% of the budget, $5 million. And just a side note here, I've long wanted to get rid of that, the dependence on money being left over from the previous year. It's never been a problem, but you are counting on something that's not certain. The problem with getting out of it is you need a year where you can just pull $5 million out of the mix, and it's not going to matter, leaving you 32.6. So when you think about this mathematically, it's 51.4 plus 34.2 minus 48 minus 5, leaving you 32.6. The $48 million that was used in the fiscal year 26 process, 21.1 you put on the state's attorney headquarter capital project. 26.8 was the new 5% reserve that you created, and then $100,000 went to the Tonytown Senior Center. Look a little bit more at the revenues, and this was an interesting year for two reasons. One, we have the continuing story of income tax, but another thing happened this year that's really pretty unusual. We had all of our largest revenues come in higher than expected. It's not unusual at all for some revenue to come in higher than expected, but it's also not unusual for some revenue to come in lower than expected. This year, we were on the plus for all of them. Property tax, $5.4 million over budget. That's about 2%. So it's a lot of money, but not a big change when you consider it, relative to the total pot. And about half of that happened in real property, the tax bills people were paying for their properties. The other half happened in railroad and public utility, which is businesses like Colonial Pipeline and BGE on infrastructure they have in the county. That was up about $1.5 million. And historically, this is a revenue that has increased very slowly, a percent a year. We've seen more like 5% a year in recent years, and we have adjusted the FY26 budget to reflect this, so we've moved the line up. The problem here is we get absolutely no information until I don't even want to say until we receive money. The only thing we know is we got the money. The companies don't share information on what they're building, what their plans are, so we can only react to what we actually see.
And Ted, what was that second half again? Was it half from real property and half from, what was the other one?
Okay, two pieces. One is the railroad and public utilities I just talked about, and the other piece is personal property, which, contrary to the name, is equipment that businesses own. And that was also, it's another one that grows very slowly, but we saw some growth there this year.
Thank you.
Then income tax, the continuing saga of recent years. We're going to be $18 million over budget. And for the last 5 years now, we've been significantly over budget. But I don't want to lose that in one of those 5 years, we came in actually under budget. And this is just one piece of the difficulty of knowing what's going on with income tax. Again, not going to spend a lot of time here today. In a few months, we'll be talking more deeply about this. But $18 million over budget. But what we call our minor distributions, which are reconciling distributions and things like delinquent payments, that was up more than $18 million. So it wasn't the core payments where we saw the growth, which raises lots of questions about what does this mean for the future? What can we confidently build into your future revenue projections? And again, you've heard this before. This is not a story that's unique to Carroll County. This is a story all across the counties, all across the state, and at the state level, and the subject of much conversation. Recordation was a bit of a surprise. We had had good growth for a number of years. Things were starting to slow, and this is very closely tied to what's happening in the housing market. We actually came in below budget in fiscal year '24, but then in '25, we bounced back up again. We got about $2.5 million more than we expected. And I'm still not really comfortable that we understand what happened in the market to lead to this. Sale prices were up, but we saw just a small increase. It's not like the jumps we were seeing for years. The number of sales were up some, but it doesn't seem like enough to explain this. So this is one we need to think about some more. Then investment income, I am not comfortable at all with our understanding of what happened here. Now, we know interest rates went up significantly for where we had been for a long time, and we had anticipated some of that. And there are other things that happen. You know, if you have capital projects with a lot of cash on them and they're not moving, you have money to invest longer than maybe we anticipated. If you're collecting more income tax than you expected, you have money coming into the portfolio that you hadn't anticipated. So that explains some of why this happened, but we're not comfortable yet that we've really got a handle on what happened here. And then other revenues, this is another 115 revenues in total, came up to about $4.5 million more than we anticipated. On the expenditure side, Public Works had about $6 million spent less than was budgeted. Some of that was about open positions, some of it was about the cost of utilities, some of it was about the cost of fuel. And with utilities and fuel, we're always trying to make sure that we're budgeting in a way that keeps us ahead of what the costs are going to be so that we're not trying to find money during the year. And really, this comes down to, you know, we were fortunate that prices didn't go up as much as we planned for. Thinking ahead to the next budget, we do have electric increases coming our way. We don't know exactly what they are, but they are going to be noticeable. Fire and EMS. This is about EMS billing. Remember, we've talked in the past about we didn't know how much we were going to get. Now we have much better information on what our expectations are. And remember, because the EMS billing is a specifically dedicated revenue, there's a separate pot in government accounting called a special revenue fund where this goes. And we have to put expenditures into that pot to match them to the revenues. We moved a little over $4 million of expenditures from the general fund into this fund once we got to the point where we understood what that was going to look like. So we won't see a repeat of this in the future. That was just a step in our evolving understanding.
So all billings don't go to that specific department. These are dedicated to EMS.
All the EMS billing goes to that special revenue fund.
That's not true with other departments always.
Like rec and park fees,
Oh,
like entrance fees and
okay.
things. No, they just go to general
Right,
revenue.
yes. In most cases, they are general fund revenue.
Yes.
They just go into the pot with everything else, and they can be spent on whatever you choose.
But this case, it goes specifically to that department.
Yes.
Good.
Another example of this would be our hotel tax, which is tied to tourism expenditures.
Does the, so on the fire and EMS budget, so does that number, is that number accounting for overtime? How are we accounting for overtime, which we already know is a pretty prevalent instance within our Department of Fire and EMS, simply because, you know, the number of people we have, the people we don't have. So how are we approaching that?
So most of the expenditures are in the general fund budget for EMS. A smaller part are in this special revenue fund. In theory, any expenditure tied to EMS, whether it's overtime or buying bandages, could be in either place. What ends up in the special revenue fund is really just a matter of trying to find the easiest way to match an appropriate amount of money to the revenues. Heidi could tell you better what we have in there, but in every year, it could actually change just depending on what makes sense to try and match, $8 million to $8 million.
To an extent, but I know that overtime is a significant issue right now within the Department of Fire and EMS. So does the fact that it's 4.4 under, is it still accounting for that overtime that we've experienced? Okay, so we're not treating that as I don't know, lack of a better term, like a completely separate budget issue.
Where the expenditures end up is really separate from our attempting to budget the appropriate amount of money. Now, we're going to try and figure out how much money do we need for overtime, but that's not driven by, does it end up as a general fund expenditure or a special revenue expenditure. Which money goes in which pot is really a mechanical thing, not about how do we budget for this. It's not intuitive, and it's not easy to understand, and I get if that doesn't fully get you there. But maybe when we come back, we can try and lay this out in some
thanks.
more visual way.
Okay, thank you.
Reserve for contingencies, we didn't use all of it. General government, and I really hate the general government term because there's so many things that fall into general government, but there's a long list of budgets here. There's not a lot of money tied to any of those. And then all other budgets, again, they're bits and pieces that are spread across the organization. This is our existing 6-year plan. We'll be starting to work, well, we're already working on it. You'll be starting to work on the next one. Just a reminder of where we were. And when we talk about the revenues coming in higher, it could be tempting to just lay that on to this picture and say, oh, problem more or less solved. We have a lot of work yet to do to figure out what we want to come back to you and say it is reasonable for you to think that these changes are ongoing changes that really will change this picture. And I think almost certainly we are going to come back with revenue projections that are higher than the ones that are in place now. The question is, how much higher?
And then we would have to couple that with any of the unknowns that we're going to be facing in the coming years.
Yes. And on that point,
Jerry?
Commissioner Vigliotti asked me to include in this presentation some of the things that could be challenges or problems or things we have to deal with in the future. And to think about this one way, if you think about what are the things that could happen that will improve our picture, it's really a pretty short list. Revenues can be better than we expect. And like I just said, we're gonna try and address that. But I think any idea that revenues are just going to be, in an ongoing way, spectacularly better than we planned on seems slim. Not impossible, but slim. The state could say, you know what, we've been making you pay for something. We're not going to make you pay for that anymore. I don't see that happening. But then when you try and think about, what other things could happen that will help us, I don't know what else there is. Now, when you think about what are the things that could make us in a worse position, that could be problems for us, that's a long, long list. And when I say things in my mind, these are the things I'm always thinking about. And this is not an exhaustive list. It's just the things that rise to the top. Loss of federal funding. There have been losses. There are things that are still we're trying to figure out now. And there's even more happening as Congress comes up against potential shutdown. The talk now is about more, maybe significant layoffs of federal employees and whatever implications that has for funding. When we talk about loss of funding, this means things to us in a lot of different ways. We get some federal funding very directly to the county. Our bridge program is very dependent on federal funding. If that were to go away, we would have things to think about. Our workforce development across the street, heavily dependent on federal funding. Now, there's nothing that says you have to do the things that they do over there, but if we lose federal funding, you'll have choices to make about, do we devote more local tax dollars or do we reduce service levels? Emergency management, very tied into federal funding, and kind of related to that, with the talk at the federal level about what is the role of FEMA, should there even be a FEMA? And we think about disasters, forest fires, tornadoes, hurricanes, related things. If that, in fact, ends up being pushed to the state, we're going to have to think about, well, what does that mean in Maryland? What does that mean for Carroll County? Because I don't think it would be realistic to think the state is simply going to say, okay, we're going to handle it now. And I have absolutely nothing to go on, but it is on my mind. Does that mean we have to pick up some costs that we have not considered in the past? As I talk about federal funding, I want to make the point. None of what I'm saying is taking a position on what the federal government should or shouldn't fund. It's just we have a situation now. If that changes, there are implications for us that we're going to have to deal with. Medicare funding. We were just talking about EMS billing. Medicare is a piece of our EMS billing. If that is decreased or goes away, we will see a direct loss. And the airport. We have a huge project at the airport, which is largely funded through the Federal Aviation Administration. If that were to change, we could truly find ourselves in a situation where we would have to consider, do we abandon this project? We have impact to our governmental partners. Carroll County Public Schools has employees who are federally funded. That doesn't directly impact you, but to the extent that people worry about losing those services, there will be pressure on you to do something about it. Our nonprofit service providers are touched in many, many ways here. And again, Medicare is in the picture for a lot of those. State budget. Even in the short time that you all have been here, you've already seen the state pushing costs that used to be theirs onto us. And that's not a new story. It's been going on for a long time, and I have no doubt will continue in the future. We just don't know what those things will be and how much money we might be talking about. Do we get new mandates? Not pushing an old cost, but creating a new cost. And I shouldn't even say, will we get? We will. We know we will. But we don't know what those are or what that's going to mean to us. And then we don't get a whole lot of funding from the state anymore, except for capital projects. Oh, sorry. But there are things we could lose.
We just lost that, too.
Oh, there we go. Highway user revenue, far less than it once was. In current legislation, in fiscal year 27 or 28, I forget now, that drops from what we are currently getting. And this is a place where state finds itself struggling. In my mind, this is an easy one for them to go after. Most of the state doesn't care about highway user revenue. They care about their roads being taken care of, but they're not thinking about this. Program open space, a big part of your rec and parks, the biggest part of your rec and parks capital program. The state's gone after it many times over the years and could happen again. Blueprint, special subset of the state funding. We're 3-4 years into this, been topic of much discussion, but right now I have no sense that I know in the end how much are we going to end up paying for Blueprint. Tariffs, another federal issue, not a funding issue. But it's hard to think that this is not going to have an impact on us. You know, we buy lots of things. Much of that comes from places all over the world. And to think that tariffs aren't going to have an impact, I think would be pretty optimistic. Stormwater regulations, you've heard talk of this in other sessions. You know, we already do a lot. We're already spending a lot. But every time we get our permit renewed, the requirements go up. And I think if you talk with planning and land management, they would tell you that's their expectation for the next round. And again, we have no way to quantify it. We don't know what it will mean. PFAs, this is a really interesting one. You know, we're hearing some talk that the EPA might pull back on what they're going to require, which could ease our concerns about funding. There's also a recent report talking about the methods of remediating. And you read through this, and it's hard not to see dollar signs spinning around in front of you. But again, we don't know where this is going to end. Fire and EMS. We've come a long way on understanding the costs of EMS. But even at that, you know, if you think back over the last couple of years, we've added things that we're funding that weren't part of an original vision for this. Are there going to be more of those things that we haven't built into a plan yet? And then the fire side of this, you know, what we've explicitly taken on here is EMS. The fire side is coming someday. When is that day? But when it comes, that's going to be another really big expenditure that's not built into our plan. Piney Run Dam, you know, we're still trying to understand, are we going to get funding help from other places on this or not? Water and sewer rates, we've done a good job in recent years of keeping up with the necessary rates, but there's always pressure on this. Nobody who pays these rates wants to pay them. I've never seen a board who is anxious to raise rates. Northern landfill, you know, we bought that land. We have opportunities to change the picture of how we deal with solid waste in Carroll County. We have about $11 million put aside, but $11 million won't be anywhere near what we're going to need to spend to develop the landfill. There will be some ongoing positive changes as we're able to landfill more and transfer less. But we're years away from that happening, and we're years of spending away before we get there. I mentioned the airport when I was talking about the federal funding. And artificial turf fields, yeah, this is an interesting one for me. We've talked about them for many years. We now have budgeted for 3 fields. I can't help but think that this is going to ramp up the pressure for more fields. Of course, do it or don't do it is in your hands, but we've heard a lot for many years. It seems likely that people are going to say, wait, what about me? Infrastructure renewal is not a new concern. County owns a lot. It all needs to be replaced over time. We've been working for years to try and get our arms around exactly what that looks like, and we're not there yet. But I have no doubt that once we get to numbers, what we're going to see is what we're putting in on an average annual basis is not enough to renew all of our infrastructure. On the revenue side, we are becoming increasingly dependent on income tax. The gap between our number one revenue, property tax, and income tax used to be significantly larger than it is. Harford County now income tax is their largest revenue. And this matters because property tax is pretty reliable, pretty predictable. Income tax is neither reliable nor predictable. And we're depending on it now much more than we used to. It's going to make it harder to feel comfortable about what we do when we adopt a budget every year. One thing that eases that is with the creation of this new 5% reserve. That does give us more room to be wrong. If we find out in a year that income tax does not perform the way we assumed that it would, you don't have to react to it immediately. You can take the year to think about where you're going. Of course, it's not an ongoing solution, but it gives you time. It seems we see more and more disasters all the time. And again, disasters, I'm talking about fires, hurricanes, flooding, tornadoes. Maryland has been relatively free from that, and we haven't been hit like some other states have. But I don't think we can just sit back and think that nothing's going to happen to us. And this has an impact in another way, again, very hard to quantify. We are self-insured for some things. We are part of the local government insurance trust risk pool for some things. But part of that mix is what's called excess insurance or reinsurance, where you cap your liability and pay somebody else to take some of the liability. So we're not directly impacted by forest fires in California, but the companies that provide this reinsurance are. So that does eventually make its way to us in some way. Another one, though, that we have no way to say, what does that mean? How do we build it into our plan? Our op plan remains on my mind as things stand. We're overcommitted. We don't believe we have enough revenue to do everything we said we're going to do. As I said earlier, I think the revenue picture will get a little bit better, but on the expenditure side, lots of things to worry about. And generally speaking, concerns about recession are not as great as they were a year ago, but that doesn't mean that we can just ignore the possibility that that's in our future. And recession, federal funding, Maryland is in a kind of unusual spot, and that the things happening at the federal level have a greater impact on us than they do in many states. I could probably go on, but I don't want to fully depress people. So that's what we had for you today. Again, we'll be coming back in a few months to talk more deeply about revenues and then more deeply about our capital and operating plans. Anything else I can offer today?
Thank you very much for this. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I didn't want to be first, but, sorry. You mentioned about, I missed the beginning of it, but I know a lot of your doom and gloom, but you're usually pretty accurate. You talked about infrastructure renewal, and I noticed in the budget that for the last 5 years, and maybe it goes back further, there's a very little contribution for developer costs to new infrastructure. I was just looking at our growth in progress that's coming down the road in the Freedom area, 1,300 new homes that are working their way through the pipeline, like 39 commercial projects is the biggest I've ever seen, with growth on the books that are like moving through. And one of the biggest issues is EMS and infrastructure, roads, especially schools. A lot of it's over 55, so it's not going to have an impact on the schools per se, but it's going to have an impact on EMS. So what is our policy on developer impact, especially on roads? How do we come up with a number if I see there is money on the budget to pay several $1 million for 2 of the roads. What is our policy for developer impact on roads or community?
Okay, I'm probably not the person you want for that conversation. I'm not involved in, the arrangements we make with developers. Really, the only thing we do in the budget is react to, okay, the developer's putting $200,000 or $1 million in the project, that shows up in the budget.
But do we have a policy on that? Like, what's the impact? Who's going to pay for it? And some of these roads have been on the books for years and years, and then they're costing us millions of dollars or more to build, and I see a developer paying 200 and some thousand toward it. Who makes those decisions? What policy does the Board of County Commissioners have? Well, maybe we can answer that, toward developer impact on roads EMS.
Yeah, I think that's a conversation for the board and planning and land management.
Do we have a policy, is my
Well,
question.
one of the things that we did recently was we instituted a DARA process, Developer Rights Responsibilities Agreements, by which we can proceed with development over a span of years. And by doing these agreements that we can now, we can require certain things of developers. So these kinds of concerns can certainly be brought up during those discussions for a DARA. If we want a developer to put investment into a park or to a road or something, we can certainly push to make that part of the DARA.
And at what point in the process does that occur?
Well, I don't think we've used one just yet, but it's a new policy, and I would imagine that when a developer comes in with the interest to develop something, they have the option to pursue a DARA. We have the option to pursue a DARA with them as well.
Well, there's not going to be much left in our area to pursue it on because it's pretty much being built out. But the question is, on the stuff that's moving through now, it's a huge impact.
Right.
And you've heard about it, you've heard people complain about traffic impacts and things, but what can we do now for the ones that are in the pipeline? Because these are almost to approval stages, final approval.
What's going through now, I would suggest it probably would be a conversation to have with Chris Hine to talk about things that are ongoing and ways that we might be able to encourage developers to contribute more.
And I would suggest that it's a conversation for us as a board, since we're the policy setters, so maybe we could put that on a work session, because it's a lot, and it is going to put pressure on the budget, and I'd like, if they impact the roads and the infrastructure, there should be some type of payment toward fixing that, and there's so much impact right now, so I think it's a little bit urgent to look at what we have and what we can do currently, and I don't think it's up to staff. We need to set a policy on it, this board, with their input, what can we do?
That's why I was saying we need to.
So take DARA, whatever DARA is, and let's look at it, and how do we put it in place now for what's in place to take some of the pressure off of our budget?
It's worth a conversation.
And I think if we do that, we also need to look with new development, there's also more revenue we get on tax dollars and a lot of things. And if we charge them enough, there'll be no growth and we'll really have problems.
Yeah, well, we're trying to find a balance, and
Yes, exactly.
Trying to find,
Exactly.
and then we got to make sure that if we are getting that extra revenue in, if we want to pay for it, if you want the taxpayers to pay for it, we need to make sure that it goes to what it's supposed to go to. And that disconnect of implementing the plan is what's missing.
Yeah.
Because we say we're going to do it, growth comes, and the plan never gets implemented. So I think tying that together is a great opportunity. It's sort of urgent right now because a lot of this stuff is ready to happen, and you're gonna hear the complaints about infrastructure and who's going to pay for it. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
If the board's interested in that, we can.
Let me just make a motion that we have a work session on DAR and we discuss a policy on infrastructure and just in general get a feel for it, led by the planning, and just get agreement from the board. What do we want to have included in that?
Yeah, I would second that. Certainly seems like a good idea.
Anybody want to add to what the expectations would be for this group? Or we can talk about it later. But just make sure everybody's stuff's on the table so we can have a robust conversation. Thank you. And we're going to vote. Okay.
Say again?
Yeah, we got
We made a motion and
second.
a motion and a
We
second.
we don't need a motion if we just said we want to do it.
I think it's good to have it on the record, just to have a record.
It'll be on record either way.
Okay,
but-
motion and second on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a good idea to vote on it. It is a work session. We're going to go ahead and require staff to spend some time in prepping it, and whether we want to have it, whether it's a public meeting or not, I think we've done a lot of public work sessions.
Yeah.
in regards to
No,
this,
I
so
think it's a good
I think
idea,
it's a great
but
idea.
typically we all agree we do it.
Yeah.
If we want to vote,
Yeah,
what the hell?
Can't hurt. Yeah, so
You know,
I second that.
Let's make our meetings longer.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye. Quick.
Opposed? No. Are we happy now?
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
talk about removal and replacement of concrete pipe.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Division of Roads Operations, requests approval to award a contract to Stanbos Incorporated for the removal of 4 feet of existing 72-inch reinforced concrete cylinder pipe and replace 8 feet of new 72-inch RCCP pipe, remove existing end wall and block wall to replace with solid end wall on Sam's Creek Road in New Windsor. The total cost of $83,016 includes traffic control and stream maintenance. This service will be procured through a competitively bid term contract.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have, the roads has evaluated this pipe down on Sam's Creek Road, and the current head wall is basic 2-foot by 3-foot concrete blocks that are separating, which is causing the guardrail to fall in addition to the size of the road. So our project is to pull out a 4-foot piece of the RCCP, extend it a little bit so we can get a nice solid head wall in there. And then the second part of the project will be to have ProShot Concrete come in and do a concrete lining in the bottom of the entire 60-foot of pipe because the rebar and the bottom of the pipe is showing a lot of wear. So once this is all completed, we'll have a nice pipe down on Sam's Creek Road that's going to last for another 50 years. Any questions?
And this is part of a term contract.
That is correct.
Motion to award a contract to Stanbos Incorporated for the removal and replacement of RCC pipe and end wall in the amount of $83,016.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Questions or discussion?
Yeah, that you brought up an interesting point. What does the term contract mean then? I don't know what that means in terms of this kind of work, because typically it's something's broken, we fix it. That's what the money's for. But I don't know if I've seen the term.
So the term contract means Stanbos is an approved vendor for Carroll County government. So what I do is I send out a request for bid for all of our term contractors that do this type of work, and we get the bids back, and we go with the lowest.
So, and good point, but how often do you update the term contractors? Is that annual basis or is that kind of ongoing?
So when we went out for this one, the initial term is 1 year, and then we can have up to 4 one-year renewals after that, pending fiscal availability, satisfactory vendor performance, and then we'll put it back out to bid at essentially every 5 years.
Okay.
I'm a little confused now, but that was a good question. So on the term contract, you said you have an approved vendor list, and you send out the bids to those on the approved vendor list. I thought your question was, how often do you add people to that approved vendor list?
When we go out to bid, so some of the term contracts, we've got various different kinds, but for this one, we put it out for a formal solicitation and say there was 4 or 5 vendors that were selected. Those are the 4 or 5 selected vendors for that term contract. We wouldn't add any additional to it, but when it goes back out to a formal solicitation, it might be the same 5 that win the following bid, or it might be 5 new ones. It varies. So, but once we finish the solicitation, we'd come before the board for approval to award the contracts to those selected vendors.
I thought you had said, like, for this particular one, you send out to the approved vendors.
So she sent it out to all of the vendors for this type of work that bid on that original solicitation.
I think what you're trying to get is how many approved vendors do we have and what that's based on.
How often it changes?
How often, correct. So these vendors provide their bids based on the cost for a piece of equipment, and a cost for a foreman, and the cost for the superintendent. So that's what we look at when we're doing that. So you have MT Laney, you have Stanbos, you have multiple vendors. So we have choices because some of them have a little more specialty in areas than others. So I send my RFPs out to all of them, and then see who comes back to bid. And, you know, obviously low price bids. On this particular job, Stanballs was the only one that replied to me and gave me a price.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And for everybody that isn't familiar with bids, you have term contractors. You can put out a public bid and accept that and all that. You can also piggyback other public bids.
That is
And in
correct.
theory, the term contractors, the piggybacking saves us some money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And time.
And is that
And
the
time.
three that I don't think I missed anything?
So we have piggybacking, there's also cooperative
Okay.
contracts.
Yes, yes.
And, I mean, it definitely saves time for us. It saves time for other counties as well, because we might utilize a Howard County contract or a Baltimore County contract. We've got a relationship with them where if they have a contract that we have, we're very happy to let them utilize our contract as well. So it's very much a cooperative thing all over the country, really.
Yep, yes. Any other questions or all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Now we're gonna meet people from the health department. Morning, how you doing?
Morning to both of you. Morning.
Unrelated, but thanks for the emails on the overdoses and the increase in some, I mean, it's alarming, but it's nice to know.
And we've been working very collaboratively with law enforcement and other agencies to make sure that those warnings are getting out. But since, I think I wrote to you in July, I'm Sue Doyle, I'm the health officer for the Carroll County Health Department. And in July, end of July, I believe I wrote to you that said that the state of Maryland had provided a direct employment opportunity for Dr. Levy with the health department. And I wanted to make some time on our calendars, and I think between
Mako and vacations.
Mako and vacations and sessions that you weren't having, this was our first opportunity, and we didn't want to miss it. So, Dr. Matthew Levy came to work at the health department in July, I think it was July 23rd. We've spent most of the last 2 months making sure that he's credentialed with all the insurance companies and all of our standing orders are up to date and changed over, and that Carroll County Public Schools is covered for the things that we do for them. But I'm going to let Dr. Levy introduce himself and give a little bit of us background.
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Dr. Matt Levy. I wrote down what I was going to say, so I didn't forget. My name is Dr. Matt Levy, and it is a pleasure to be here today to introduce myself to you. I am a community pediatrician by training and practice. For 18 years, I was at MedStar Georgetown University Hospital. There I built the division of community pediatrics. I was also a professor of clinical pediatrics. I built programs that improved access to care for children, adolescents, and families, including a mobile medical clinic, 2 school-based health centers, a homeless shelter clinic, a mobile nutrition program, a mental health program, and many others. While I was there, I wanted to take a little bit of a change, and I applied to be a Robert Wood Johnson Health Policy Fellow, and I worked in 2010, 2011, I worked for Congress as a health policy analyst. I was honored to be chosen as one. But after that, I went back to Georgetown to continue to build the programs. But I also took on a role as an advisor to the Bipartisan Policy Center on a physical activity and nutrition initiative. And I was there for a couple of years working on this a national campaign to try to improve and raise awareness for physical activity and nutrition. After about 18 years at Georgetown, I decided I needed a little change, and I wanted to grow my experiences, and I moved to Atlanta to be the medical director of the Clinically Integrated Network for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, where I was able to build population health models for about 900,000 children, 400 pediatricians, 800 specialists. I did that for about 3 years, decided I wanted to get back into academics, and then moved over to Wisconsin to work at the Medical College of Wisconsin and to rebuild their division of general and community pediatrics. I added the general part to the community part. And I was also working for Children's Wisconsin. We were there for about 2.5 years, and the opportunity to be the health officer for Prince George's County opened up. And I was recruited and accepted the opportunity to work for 2 years for the Alsobrooks-Jackson administration to build programs in Prince George's County to serve the million people that live there and to try to drive improvement in health and healthcare in the community. And I am thrilled to be here today in Carroll County to serve the needs of the Carroll County residents, and I would welcome any questions.
We're very happy to have you, and thank you for agreeing and becoming a part of our community.
It's a pleasure to be here. I've been, when I first got here, Sue said, we're going to take a ride. And we drove around the entire county. I apologize, if I don't remember which commissioner is Mount Airy, but we didn't see Mount Airy. I'm going to go there. It's on my list. But we managed to drive around the whole county, and I'm absolutely blown away how beautiful the county is, and really interesting place to be.
Thank you. I served on the health committee in Annapolis for 16 years, so I've met most of the health officers. I don't know if you were one of them at the time. But one of the things that I think we have an interest in as a board is sort of trying to elevate and coordinate our duties as health, the Board of Health. You know, we sit as the Board of Health and never really formalized it in many ways. So we're sort of looking at ways to have that happen and be more of partners with like goals and objectives and things like that. And maybe you could give us some ideas, not now, but about what that would look like. And I know I've worked with Sue for 30 years, 25 years. When you're a nurse.
For 42.5 years at the health department.
No, a long time.
However long it's been, it's
one
been a
of the
while.
one of the big issues in our county, obviously, is the opioid epidemic, which is everywhere. But we have a lot of volunteers. We have a lot of community support for these things. And I complimented you the other day, Sue, because you combined two. We were talking about, can we combine some things? And you combined the overdose prevention group, we changed the name, and the BHAC, which is Behavioral Health Council, because we saw a lot of redundancy. They're not combined, they just meet right after the other because they have some of the same people. And that was a very good use of people's time and energy of having the same people at the same table, like boom, boom. So, we look at those efficiencies, so I appreciate that. But I wanted to ask Sue a question. So think about those things, because we're going to start talking about maybe how do we more formalize our role and making sure that our priorities are aligned with grant requests, and just so we have a little bit more in the know so we know what we're doing. But Sue, I want to know, with the opioid settlement fees, how much are we getting, and do you know what we're doing with them?
The opioid settlement fees, there's several sets, so some come directly to Westminster, some come to the county commissioners. My belief is that we utilize the overdose prevention policy planning group to make those decisions on how we're going to spend that money. We also utilize that group for the Not in Carroll money that's given to the health department. And in addition to that, the other money goes directly to the MORE, which is the Maryland Overdose
Opioid overdose response.
Maryland Office of Overdose Response. They just changed it. It's like, well, everybody has to it's the MORE, but I don't want to say that because I want people to understand what it is. But all of that funding goes through them. They have a steering committee and a council that votes on the proposals. There are a lot of restrictions on what we're able to spend that money on, what we're not able to spend that money on. We believe most of it's been, the state has been very good about saying that all overdoses need to be addressed, not just the opioid overdoses. In the settlement, it's very specific that it's towards opioids. So we're tailoring a lot of the efforts that we're doing towards overdose and highlighting the opioid portion so that we can make use of those funds. I do know that there's many community agencies that are able to apply for those funds, and we do, I believe, 2 meetings ago, because you were both at the meeting, we did say that we were going to make sure that those applications are in line with the county's overdose strategy plan on what we're moving forward. So we don't want somebody to come in with a plan to do something that's not in line with our priorities. in this community. So somebody could come in and say, I want to open, and this is just a food pantry, or I want to open, I want to do prevention efforts for this specific thing if it's not in line with the plan, whether it's the county or whether it's these other deliverables that have to be met to be accepted, that's what we would,
But if
we
it's
would rank them in order of how we think
So,
we would like them
and on the
approved.
strategy plan, I guess I got to get a copy of that. Is that updated every year?
It is in the process of being updated, and at the December meeting, you will be hearing about what programs and efforts we have in place in Carroll County, what's currently under development, and what still remains blank, for lack of a better word, that we haven't developed that yet. So in the last 5 years, we've built on our crisis services. But there are some things, like we don't have an adolescent clubhouse in the county. Well, there's only 3 counties that have those, and that was because there was specialized funding for it. But that is one of the things that the settlement money could be used for. So those are things that
And what was
we
the
can-
dollar amount of the settlements? I mean, just approximately.
It's in the millions.
I know, because I read about Baltimore City, and there's in the hundreds of millions, so.
Yes,
I just want,
it's-
it's an opportunity for us to do some new things, but I just want to make sure that process, the group that's in place, we meet 4 times a year?
4 times a year.
That is vetted there, and I think this board would like to see that, because there's some things that, I was at the event a couple weeks ago, Tommy, I think you were there, in Westminster Park, the overdose that Linda Auerbach put on, it was excellent, but they were asking me about certain programs that we don't have anymore, and one happened to be, one that I liked was the EMS, when we thank the EMS folks and go and we take them lunches on appreciation.
I don't remember why we couldn't.
I
do
don't
that
know,
this year.
I just
There
didn't
was
have
a
an
reason.
answer to why we didn't do it anymore. So if we sort of know what's going on with the grant request, I thought that was a great, just because it lets a person that's in recovery go and thank the responders and the places where they came from and take them meals. And we used to have a dinner, or you guys used to have a dinner, and then we started during COVID just taking the box lunches to the sheriff's department or down to the fire departments and just saying thank you. And then it was a great connection between the person who was in recovery and the person who, or the
I will personally follow up with you on that, because I know something was done this year. It was not done historically the way we've done it in the past. So I will let you know what.
I just want to have an answer.
completed.
But thank
I
you.
will get
Welcome,
you that answer.
welcome aboard, and I look forward to working with you. And Sue, hopefully we'll have a goodbye for you. You retire before Christmas?
I am retiring before Christmas,
You'll have
yes.
time to shop and.
I feel very blessed that I have a seasoned health officer, previous health officer at the health department. I feel happy that, because, I did my research and I looked at his last Board of Health presentation, and many of the problems that we have in Carroll County are the same issues that they had in Prince George's County. It's just a matter of they had 1 million people, and we don't have 1 million people. We have a little under 200,000, so I don't think he's a foreigner to anything that we're dealing with in this county. I think we've made an offer to a individual for the Deputy Health Officer of Operations position, and then we just have we have 2 acting positions right now that we're working to recruit. So we're waiting for the deputy to get on so we can recruit for the LBHA position that Kathy vacated when she retired, and the director of nursing position.
And the operations person, wasn't that a grant-funded position?
It is the public health infrastructure grant from the CDC, and we have, from the beginning, we had planned sustainability for that position.
So that person left as well?
That person left, but there's still 3 years left in the
Okay,
grant, so we're filling it because we don't want to leave any money on the table. We want to make sure that that position has been instrumental in helping us move forward with our strategic planning, with our work towards becoming FAB accredited, public health accredited as a health department, and it has been helpful in developing a policy management system and getting all of our policies into a system where our staff can find the most current policy and have access to it when they need it. We were using, if anybody uses Google, on the Drive, we were using the Drive, and when you would put a search field in there, it would bring up 1,000 documents. So that's not very helpful to our employees. So we wanted a place where they were all kept and they were up to date. It also gives us the ability to do quizzes at the end of the policy so that we know that the staff understand the material and what they're doing.
Thank you. And one last question. On these positions you're trying to fill, I know in the past when they were grant-funded positions, sometimes it got tied up in department management budget with timing-wise. You have a certain amount of time to spend the money, but they don't get you on board until like 6 or 8 months. If you have those tie-ups like that, let us know so we can get in touch, because it's a shame when you have a certain amount of time to spend the money and you can't get the person on board for 6 to 8 months. And sometimes you can get that moved through, and I know that's been
Thank you.
I don't know if it's been as much of a problem lately. We tried to fix that last year, but it takes a while. New administration, sometimes they just don't realize it. Thank you.
We will be in touch to plan a Board of Health meeting, so.
Dr. Levy, welcome. When you do find time to get down to Mount Airy, if you can let me know ahead of time, I'd love to at least contact maybe the mayor down there, and he can meet with us. I know you don't have a lot of time on your hands. I'm not going to take up, hours of your day, but if and when you do get down there, please let me know
That'd be
ahead of time. Echo a little bit of what Commissioner Krebs mentioned, but, given your just amazing scope of experience, I would encourage you, and again, because it is a bit of a time of change within the health department in terms of personnel, I would encourage you, when you get settled, to look across the entire scope of the health department and let us know what your thoughts are in terms of what needs to change. Are resources being put in the right location? What do we need to do? Again, given your level of experience, I think that we would really like to see that, and it doesn't have to be, it can start out as an email that, hey, I've seen this, and I'm going to suggest this, and then we can have you back and discuss some of those changes, because we want to be supportive of what you see and where you think, improvements might be able to be made. And I think that's critically important for this board to know that, and I'm certainly committed to following through on those things as well.
Great. And Sue and I have already started to look at what we have and how the structure and everything, so we'll follow up with you on that.
Please do. Please feel free to do that. That's an open invitation to make those suggestions, given your experience and the experience of the folks around you that are there now. So thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming in today. It was a pleasure meeting you at Mako back in the summer. And I've appreciated your assistance on a few things to date, but look forward to working with you.
Happy to help.
Yes, and thank you. This was a good thing, and it's good for all the public to see it too. But it was nice talking to Mako also, and welcome to Carroll County.
Thank you.
And Dr. Levy, as you get going, if there's anything you need from us, do not ever hesitate to reach out to us, to talk to us. I mean, we're all easily contactable. Or-
Yeah.
We're easy to communicate with, and if there's anything we can do to help facilitate what you're doing, please do let us know.
I appreciate that. And it was nice to see you at Mako and a more casual setting.
Yes.
And Dr. Lee, one more comment, and it'd be interesting for you to compare us to Prince George's being so much larger. One thing I pride ourselves on here is that people really do work together, and if you see even sitting in our opioid prevention work group, and who takes it very seriously, we have somebody from the schools. It started off the school superintendent, the sheriff, the state's attorney themselves, and we come to these meetings. Sometimes they send somebody else, but and I could go on. There's representatives from all the groups, and they have a seat at the table, and they have input, and we try to work. I say we, this group tries to work. One of our main policies to come out with years ago when we first started the group was we needed middle school intervention to stop the pipeline. And what do we have now? We have Boys and Girls Clubs in almost every middle school. And that came out of everyone deciding that's a top priority. And who would have thought that on the drug? But, we can go to rehab forever. We're never going to work our way out of this. So everyone agreed, let's put some of these resources into that. And it's now almost a reality countywide. And so I hope you appreciate the people here who really do work together, all the groups. And we don't always agree on everything, but we pretty much do, so.
I appreciate that, and I went to the LMB board meeting, and I heard I think they just got into the final school, the Boys and Girls Club.
Well, they're still trying to get in Mount Airy. They're trying to, that's the only one they haven't, but they got into Sykesville Middle and Oklahoma Road, one last year and one this year. I think Oklahoma was this year. And then the others are being taken care of at Copper Mine, up at North Carroll Middle. The old North Carroll High. But I think they're working on Mount Airy, but.
I've been very.
Mount Airy this year.
I think they're trying.
They're trying to.
They're
it's
trying.
not.
I know they've been doing things.
Yeah, I
for a
talked to
couple
Sean
years
last
trying
week.
to
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's.
They're working on it.
I've been very impressed with Boys and Girls Clubs. They do tremendous work.
Ours are phenomenal, so we're proud of that. Thank you.
And I looked it up, contactable is a word.
I was going to I was going to circle back with you on that. Did you make a word during a open session meeting? That would be the first time you've ever done that, but it's a word.
It is a word. It's not a word in common usage anymore.
Darn it, I thought I had you.
One of these days, Mike, one of these.
Well, we look forward to working with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
I will be taking some time off, so I'll be working around Dr. Levy's schedule. There will be one of us available to you all at any time, but I do have some time I need to take. So you might see my out of office in his name a lot, but we're trying to both stay connected so that when he's not available, I am here. Right.
And Sue, I know at some point we'll say goodbye to you, but, just thank you for all that you've done as well.
Yeah.
Don't want to leave you out of it.
It's all good.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
So now a briefing on Carroll Connect.
So if Chris is out here, who's back there?
I don't know. Good question.
Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
You're probably getting phone calls.
We have one on the line, so I don't know how we're going to handle that. You have to give me a little bit of time to get back there, so. Well, I guess we'll start with introductions. I'm Chris Swam, and I'm the digital communications manager.
Christine Camporari, Public Relations Manager.
And we're here to talk a little bit about Carroll Connect, which is a GovDelivery product, and we use that to engage our citizens of Carroll County. And it is a email subscription service. So people can get that and sign up for that from our email, from our website, which is carrollcountymd.gov. So that's pretty much how that works, and we have a lot of people signed up for it. We have a lot of topics, and what we're here to do is discuss that. So I believe Commissioner Krebs had some questions about that, and we're here to answer those questions and hopefully make it better.
And as a user of that, a recent user, and that's still what I use, I love it.
Great.
However,
There's always a however.
Well, I have followed for years. How long have we been doing Carroll Connect?
Well, it was here, I don't know the exact date when it started. I couldn't tell you that.
Just approximately 10 years.
It's probably over 10, probably 15.
Because I've been signed up for years. When I get bored, which is rare, I sometimes just put it on. I'd like to look at the agendas, see what's of interest, and then the next day you can click on it and watch that little piece, and that's what I see. But one of the things as a user from my end is you don't always you get this piece of paper, this white piece of paper that's with the agenda that doesn't always, depending on who puts it there, doesn't have a lot of information in it. Like the one today, you just said, and this is just from the user's point of view. You just gave us great information about what the website is. Put it in. This is what the people are going to look at. So you want to make sure that it's in there. It's on the front page. We're trying to get people. How do they easily get to sign up?
Right.
So that's just on everything that we talk about here. And then sometimes the presentations, not sometimes, they're not attached. And I've found lately there's another place you can go in, but as the user on that first page, I would never have known that. I never knew to go in. So if there's an easy way, and I can talk to you more about the details of that, but we're trying to, this is a really good way of communicating with people. And then I think Vivian either has or is working on something to send, for us to hand out when we go places and say, here's how to use Carroll Connect. But I don't want to push that until we get it operational, because one thing that I just found out recently, and I'm disappointed, is I signed up for pretty much everything, which just shows you what kind of life I have. But there's a list of all the different things, whether it's rec and parks in your area, or the library in your area, or employment opportunities. So the one I was always interested in was planning, and I checked them all off. And sometimes I'd get something about like the master plan. It was something sent out special.
Yes.
Carroll 2035. I get that. So I'm thinking I'm getting stuff from planning. But just recently realized I was getting nothing from agendas of Planning Commission, anything else to do with regular planning. And when things go out for public hearing, like I know many times it's said by the board, no one showed up. No one wrote a comment about all these things. They don't care. Well, I'm looking like, when did I've been sort of mentioning this for a while to my former colleague, and I just kept thinking I was missing it. Well, maybe I missed it last week. I'm not like sitting there at the computer looking at this stuff. But I was missing it all the time. So then I started really paying attention and realized that it wasn't being sent out. So that is our way to communicate. So anything we want to like send, and we've got to figure out who's responsible for putting that up. What capability do we have? And I brought the sheet somewhere, the list of things you can sign up for.
I have that up right now, Commissioner.
Okay, so on mine, like at the beginning,
I think I printed out a list of the topics that you're signed up for. I believe I gave those to Vivian. I think that's what I gave you.
So when you look down here and you like planning, you go to, like the Board of Commissioners meetings, always get that, the agendas, the follow-up,
Yeah.
the live and archive meetings. Okay, and then under planning, I'd always signed up for that, and I found that I never got any of it because it wasn't active yet. So if something's not active, if we're starting to push this out, we either have to figure out how to get it active, how to get the stuff fed to it, and then disenable it and say not active yet, because I know a lot of people who've signed up for this and think they're getting this stuff and they're not, and that's why. And then we as a board need to make a list of what things we expect to be on here, because I would think this is a great way to push things out. I know the only requirement that the state of Maryland has for putting stuff out for changes, like for certain things like zoning and changes like that, is something in the newspaper. And we tried to get rid of that requirement years ago, but the newspapers would be totally out of business now if we got rid of that. And it's not even available online. You can't even see the ads. And most people get their content, I think over half of readers get their content online now. So they're not getting it. So our goal is not to do the minimum that's required, is putting it in a paper that no one ever looks in the back in the legal sections, except some lawyers that are looking for a business. But how do we get the information out to our citizens so that they can really pay attention? And this is a great tool, and I just want to make sure it's being, we can depend on it and figure out whose responsibility, when's it hooked up, what's our capability. It seems like the capability's there, and we don't want to burden staff. It's like, how do we make this the repository for information? So even when we want to look for something, or the staff, they can go, this is like for boards and commissions, this would be the repository to go to. So it's not just somebody doing an extra task. So just put that on your radar screen, because when you read this, it really is a great tool, but
Some of them are a little repetitive.
well, it's better to get it more. You can always hit delete. But it says here, you will receive an update when you sign up. I signed up for something new last night. I mean, I was never interested in employment or, unfortunately, the Mount Airy Library, but now I'm interested in everything. But it says you will receive an email update when new information becomes available. So you're assuming that's what you're going to get. And again, if these things are not fully being utilized, and I'm not talking about just telling somebody there's a parade coming up. I'm talking about things that we want the public, if we send something out for public comment, it should be pushed out, and to the extent possible, and then somehow we got to get people. And when we say public comment, we should say, if you want to sign up to get this information and get what it says, like here is what we're looking at, not just we're talking about, like I picked up this employment zone thing because it happened a couple weeks ago. Well, I don't know if I'm interested or not, but if you have the link right there and it comes through and you can click on the text, you say, well, this is something I better pay attention to. We need to make people not have to scurry for information, make phone calls to staff, which interrupts them. If it's right there, they can say yes or no, I'm interested, and then it's available to everybody. The link is there. So I have a meeting with you scheduled for Friday. I think.
Next week.
Oh, next week.
Next week.
Okay. Well, someday.
Monday.
And just how to make this happen. But in the meantime, how do we make sure that the content isn't coming in? How do we make sure that people can't sign up or say not available right now, so they're not thinking they're getting it? Okay. It's just a question.
Audit.
Got it. And I don't know which things are hooked up fully or not. And then we've got to talk to staff and say, how can we get?
That's the key, is work with the staff to figure out what's not being sent and who's not sending, and figure out, is that content that you need to feed? Is that a topic that we need still? Is that something that, a lot of these were set up, I think, maybe 15 years ago. I think the recent one that we did kind of consolidate was Carroll County planning updates. And that is for, like we were just talking about, was the master plan. And that goes into that.
Well, and it's interesting because I'm getting right now something new on Master Plan 2035.
Correct.
And last night I clicked on that.
Yeah.
Okay. But the question then is, all those people that signed up for the planning stuff for the last 15 years, are they still going to automatically get 2035?
I get that,
Okay.
yes.
And just
Yeah.
make sure that connection's there, because I mean, new people might be interested, but I want to make sure the old people, the former people that were signed up are also getting it.
They get that also, yeah. That was sent out Tuesday, I believe. Yeah, I worked with planning to put that out on Tuesday.
And then,
Yeah.
that's great. And then also on the boards and commissions, there's a lot of information there, and we're trying to get that stuff updated so it almost can, we're not looking to write more words, we're just trying to say, all the words are already written, how do we get them to link to it so people can right there, click on it and say, what is this job, what's, not just overall, but what's in the job, what is it, what's it responsible for? And they can link right to their bylaws or to the code that it covers, and they would know, what they're responsible for.
Do you volunteer for those boards and commissions?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we need to create a topic for that, correct?
Well, no, there's something to apply for the boards and commissions. That's what
Okay.
I'm talking about. Now,
All right.
you could put all content there. That's another issue. You don't want to do that. But I'm just saying, when you're
Separate.
applying, you just want to know, what does this board do? How much responsibility is?
Boards and commissions part.
Yes, that would be on the boards and commissions part. This is on the part of even applying for it. That you
Correct.
would have an idea, here's the code that says what you have to do. I mean, some are very, take all day, some of these groups, some of them don't. And you could sort of get, in their agenda, you could almost say, here, you could go to their agenda, you can see their agendas, you can see when they meet, and then you get a feel for it. Because people are always saying to me, how often they meet? Or how long does it go? What's the requirement? What's the homework requirement? Some of them is just show up, and some of them is a lot of homework. So you want them to get an idea, because you want people to participate with fully knowing what they're being asked to do.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll talk more, but thank you.
Absolutely.
And then we'll start bringing more attention to it. And once we get some of the content updated, then we'll start trying to push it out. And I think it's a wonderful, we say people don't volunteer, and until we really are engaging them, then I'll say they don't want to. But I think they do, they just don't know how. So, thank you.
Right.
I do a lot of email lists, and how do you, particularly since it's, some of the names on this are old, how do you update emails? I find somebody works for Carroll County Public Schools, that's their email address, they retire, and it just kicks back to you that person doesn't exist anymore. And I ask others to get me in touch, and it's in vain. So you just delete it and assume it's the responsibility's on them to update, or what do you do?
Well, the system, after a certain amount of bounces, we call that, it'll say, okay, this person doesn't exist any longer. And it'll delete it. Yeah, it does that for us. It unsubscribes.
Okay.
And also, it protects us from bots, which is good. So that's also another plus for the system.
Do you have to click on it, or just it knows it was delivered?
It knows, click on.
I mean, do you have to actually click on the email that comes in to make it that you've gotten it, or
No,
is it
the
just it gets
system
delivered?
does it for us,
Look at a
yeah.
bounce
Yeah, it's
back.
smart for us, that's very nice, so I don't have to do anything. But
Yeah.
I can go and look at it and see how many were unsubscribed at any point, so.
And that's what I do. I'll get a bounce back, and then then my next email will say, these 6 people don't have valid email addresses anymore.
I don't want to say how easy it is to unsubscribe.
Oh, I know. It's a pain. And then, how does information come the other way? When I was on Board of Ed, of course, we were a popular time. I'd get 200 emails a day, and people would be very upset that I didn't respond. Well, that would have taken 16, 18 hours of my day, so it wasn't physically possible. And I would always encourage people, I, for one, couldn't be at most meetings unless I took off work, but emails are a valuable way to do public contact to us. If they have comments, they're not limited to 3 minutes, it's in writing. How do they come in, and where do they go? Board of Ed, we had a page that a lot of them were printed, and then some of them we got copies of, and I tried to read every email, but I didn't respond to them. So how
All
do
this
we
does, all this does is send to.
Yeah,
this
what
is-
system do we have to get, how, if I tell somebody, you can't be at the meeting, email us, that they gotta send it to me, or is there a general
We have a-
public comment email?
We have a general communications email.
Okay.
Yeah.
And most people use the commissioners at carrollcountymd.gov.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Which is on the
If they want to
website.
reach you, that would be our suggestion. If they want to just reach Carroll County government in general, they can still reach you through the communications one,
Yeah.
but the communications email these two folks in front of you receive them, they send them off where they need to go or respond, or depends on what it is. Sometimes they're just junk.
And maybe that's an item we ought to have on here is occasionally send out, this is how you make public comment. You know?
We have a contact form, actually.
Good.
That you reach from the actual website.
And
so.
you mentioned about responding. I used to get tons of email from places that weren't even in Carroll County. So we delete, outside of Carroll.
Carroll County, Georgia. Yeah, we get a lot of those.
Well, no, I'm talking about the rest of the state. They
Yeah.
just bombard you. But in order, not everything is, most stuff is not just our district, but we're still getting that information. And when I would get bombarded, I felt like I had to answer people, but we would do it in our little newsletter at the end of the week and say, we've had a lot of questions about this, here's the response. And it felt like you were talking to them about it, but we could either do it, I know there's a press release, but sometimes just saying we've had a lot of community, like about the transmission lines. We give updates, but we might say we've had a lot of, here is our, we've had hundreds of people contact us. Here is, we're trying to cover all the questions in this email. And it's like your response. And so how do we make sure that that person who has written in about that to us gets on that list? Do they go on the master list then, all of them? Because that's how I used to handle it. And people always praise us for communications, but you said it's impossible to write all these back individually, and they're giving them sort of the same answer. But if you somehow gear it to that, it is a response, and it's appreciated because then you're giving them the information. So everyone, if we have people that out in the community that want to get on an email list, should we just how do we get them onto like a general email list? They want to be involved, so you want to.
It depends on the subject.
Okay.
It really depends on the subject. So if it's planning and things, then the planning department would handle it, and they have I wouldn't want to speak for exactly how they do it. Chris or Christine might know, but it depends on the subject. So. Yeah, and generally handled by each department depending on the subject.
Well, and
So
maybe we
have-
could, once
have
this.
to know. If there's something that the Board of County Commissioners is receiving, then we have on many occasions written a general response and sent that to all the folks that have communicated with you. But generally, they're looking for information from your departments. So. and we
But
keep
on
them
some of them, they just don't even have the basics. So if we could somehow point them to, when we get Carroll Connect up totally running, you could point them to that and say, and walk them through it, sign up for this stuff.
Yeah.
And, because I think sometimes it's just the most basic information, and I don't want to tie staff up. Sometimes they're looking for a simple answer. They're not looking for the 100-page answer. They're just looking for a simple answer. And if you just get them to the right place, and I think.
This system specifically is for sending information to them, not for receiving. So if you're talking about receiving, that would be a different.
No, what I'm suggesting is if we had a repository of those emails, they're in this list, that if you had, even in, it's almost better to over-communicate on certain things like the transmission line. People might be interested.
Right.
And then just send it out. Well, are you using this Carroll Connect list to do general send-out? That's what I'm asking.
We could set up a specific topic for anything.
It's just, it's our own press release. We don't have a lot of press
Yeah,
anymore.
the press releases all
Yeah,
go
that's
out on
absolutely.
But they go out to people that have signed up for press releases.
Absolutely.
But if we have people that that just write into us, how do we get them hooked up so they stay informed?
I think, for example, the comprehensive rezoning. We drilled that down and had people strictly sign up for comprehensive rezoning. That's a good example. People were getting strictly that information.
And I never got any of it, and I was involved with, I never got it. And that's why I'm frustrated, because I signed up for everything, I went to all the meetings, and somehow, and again, it's water over the bridge, but being on this side of it that tries very hard over years and years, decades to pay attention, I almost had less information. I came across an email that, not email, a document that I'll share with you. It's like 20 years old. It's from the Freedom Plan in like '84. And it's a paper, they sent it, mailed it, yellow, out to everybody. And it says, here's when the meetings are going to be, because that's how you communicated back then. And I still have it. But not that I'm not asking you to go backwards, but, back then, every single person got it in their mailbox. Here's what's happening, here's the plan, here's what, show up. And so I think we have the opportunity. We all have to work to make it happen.
Yeah, we could, when we have census, things like that, we can create topics at any point and have people subscribe to that topic. And
I think we got a lot of topics. Just got to get the stuff filled.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So Chris, how many subscribers do we currently have?
Currently, we have, let's see, 64,783. Now, that includes some internal, we use internal, for example, we notify people when we have delays for texts. We send out texts to let people know we're closed for the day.
Staff, not
Yeah,
people.
and staff people, our staff here, so. We also use it for texts to manage area for when we have to do the heat index to make sure that people are drinking water. So we use it for a lot of different reasons, not just for notifying just citizenry. So that includes those numbers that.
It takes 700 off.
Take 700.
And it's still 64,000.
So and we've sent out email bulletins just this year, 613. So we do send it out. We do use it a lot. So it's pretty busy.
Well, so the reason why I was asking about that, I mean, obviously that's an impressive number given that our population is what, 178,000, give or take?
That's households, yeah.
And so my thought would be, kind of going off of what Commissioner Krebs had been asking about, is it possible for us to create and send out a survey to everybody who subscribes, asking them, not just how they feel about the Carroll Connect service. Is there something that they want information on that they're not getting? Is there something that they want to see that isn't listed yet on that sign-up area, the sign-up list? And maybe push them out for a month or something and see what responses we get. Because I agree with all of my colleagues that we can always try to improve how we communicate with people.
Sure.
We also want to hear from as many of them as possible. What is it that they're looking for specifically out of this? What can we do to tailor this more toward what they want to see? And I get that you go and you can choose what you want, but maybe like an open-ended survey that would allow them to respond, to say, hey, I don't see anything specifically about, animal control variances or something, right? But allows us to see also what.
We could get all kinds of answers, but yeah, we could do that. We have the ability to build a digital form and for them to fill out and send back to us.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
I'd love to do that if we
Very
could.
easy. I can't tell you what we get back, but we can absolutely try to do that and see what we would get. We can do that.
Awesome. Thank
And I
you
don't know
very much.
what the frequency we'd want to do. I can tell you when the perfect times to do it. But with that, with doing a form, we want to do it when people are home. So to make sure that we get people to do it. So that would be something we look at. And we want to work together to get the right questions for that too. So
All the analytics, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you, Chris.
So I'm glad we're having this conversation. I think this is very important. I feel that this is basically where good government starts. And I do notice that some of the departments, the more public-facing departments like Citizen Services and Rec and Parks, they do a great job of getting stuff out, and I get probably something every single day. One thing I would like us to take a look at, and somebody alluded to it earlier, but the issue of public hearings, whether it's BZA or planning and zoning, I know it's a little tricky because somebody in Tawnytown doesn't necessarily want to know what's going on in Eldersburg, but I've never been thrilled at all with our method of contacting people. Right now, we'll put something in the Carroll County Times. I get that. Maybe they get sent a card, but most people don't really seem to get the card sometimes. I mean, whether that's just the post office or they throw it away, they think it's junk mail. We need to find a way, if we're not already doing this, and I don't think we are, but we need to find a way to include, maybe it's by district, because people do mention what they want to see by district, where they're aware of these hearings going on, whether it's BZA or planning and zoning. And I know that's a heavy lift, but I think it's very, very important. The fact that these are occurring mostly at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning doesn't help. We can deal with that later. We can try to, that's for the board to figure out. But I really would like to see Carroll Connect get in on that business of letting people know what's going on in terms of hearings. Because when they find out about it, it's just the way things go, it's usually too late. And that's what we hear from our constituents, and they're not wrong. So let's please take a hard look at that, of a way to sort of target that by district if we have to, but let people know what's going on with these two particular entities and any other general public hearings that we might have. I mean, we've had some public hearings in the past year. We did it on solar and a couple other things. So please take a look at that. I think that is critically important because every time I hear, well, we advertise it in the Carroll County Times and we send some postcards, that just doesn't work. I mean, we need to do that, but it just doesn't answer the mail, no pun intended.
I would suggest we don't do it by district, and we just send it out, but have people sign up for public hearings, just so that
Okay.
anyone interested in public.
That,
'cause
that's a way around it, sure.
If you, there really don't have a ton of public hearings, because if you mean public hearings specifically, not just meetings, because that was one thing you mentioned, Commissioner Krebs, is you thought you should have been receiving notice of meetings of like the Planning Commission and the Board of.
The agenda, so you get the agendas, then you can see what's on
That
it.
we can ask
That's
is.
a separate issue.
That would be right.
Yeah.
So I would separate those two. So any public hearing that the Board of County Commissioners is going to have is one, and then any, or those other organizations. The Planning Commission has public hearings too, so we would add those.
If it had to do with planning, it's something the board, it would go to planning as well. I
Yeah.
think they're detailed. I
Yeah,
mean, the
they-
people that checked off planning.
Should probably get it two times.
Yeah,
But,
which they wouldn't
in a
get twice.
In a perfect world, they, yeah.
They wouldn't get it twice, because that
If it's the
email
same
doesn't.
If it's
Yeah.
the same exact topic, yeah. But I would separate public hearings from meetings of boards and commissions beyond just this.
We can talk about the details, how to lay it out. But back to Commissioner Vigilatti's idea, is there a way that we just send something out saying, we had this discussion today, the Board of County Commissioners is interested in, improving our already, we already have this in place, improving our communications for good government. And this is what we have in place, this Carroll Connect, and we're looking for feedback. We're trying to make sure content is there. What we just talked about. And
We
then,
would do a news
and then ask for that feedback, what people would like to see. But it's sort of like a reboot, so somebody will read it. Because right now, if you don't say this is like a reboot, they're not gonna.
I would suggest, as you were alluding to, two different things. One, that we do a press release with regard to that, because that's a wider audience potentially than just this. And then we can send it to the 64,000.
And social media, because.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every release we put out goes to social media.
But the question is,
Absolutely.
when do we do it, and do we wait? I mean, you want to guide people to this, but I don't want to guide it if the stuff's up there and it's not connected yet. So
Yeah, we want to make
Well,
sure
I
we get
think
the.
they're two different things. Again, what is with two today? One is asking people to take like this survey, and then you guide them there once.
But they're going to be responding about Carroll Connect.
What we
'cause
have
they might
now.
not even know it. You know what I'm saying? So you might want to put up if things aren't active yet, just like put it there, coming soon. But you want them to respond to what we have in place. Because
Yes.
I mean, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to improve the wheel.
Yeah.
To react
Always
to
improve,
something,
yeah.
sure, for sure. But then once it's reinvented, then really push out to drive them to signing up for it.
Okay. You
Or
get
to
it.
look at what they've already signed up for to refresh, because that's also a thing. People forget what they signed up for. They're not interested in that topic anymore or whatever.
I wouldn't even know about the stuff going on in the rest of the county if I didn't get that. So, we've got to realize when I first started, we had 5 newspapers. We had stuff covered 3 and 4 times, and now we have 1 part-time. And it's great, but they can't cover all the stuff going on. And just getting that information out, like about something going on tonight in Westminster, like Fall Fest or something. I mean, that's when you get the information. I put it on my calendar, and it's really, it is a good communication tool, so thank you.
We can always make it better. You're absolutely right.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Let me go get that
Thank
call.
you.
Give me a minute.
Yes. In about 30 seconds, I'm going to say, do we have any public comment?
Give me a minute.
And we have none.
Chris, you can-
Yeah, I'll go through that way.
Roberta, we have none here, right?
Yeah. and- nope.
All right, I'm here.
Okay.
Sort of.
Do we have any public comment? One caller?
Under
I believe we have one caller on the line. Caller, if you could use *6 to unmute, you'll have 3 minutes, and please identify yourself. Thank you.
And I don't know whether the caller will be, you're really broken up.
No, you're Catherine Adelaide, Carroll County Republican Central Committee. Can you hear me okay?
No, actually, we can't. It's very broken up. Chris, can you do something about that?
I can hear her in mine. Let me see. It's on your end. It's probably.
Yes. Yeah, we hear you broken up and her.
Yeah, you
Okay,
sound like a
so-
100-year-old.
It's in the room. It's Matt.
Hey, give us a few minutes, caller.
Is it sounding good out in the public, just bad here?
Yeah.
So it's just bad in the room?
It's garbled.
Can they hear it online?
Yeah. It sounded fine. And it sounded fine earlier when you spoke.
So annoying. We can hear it, it's just not.
Gonna have to go with
Is it, is it good?
Humidity.
Yeah, it's very humid.
Interferes with
Really?
this room really bad.
Is it good online? That's what's really
Fine with me,
most,
yes.
okay.
Good,
As
that's
long as
fine.
it's good online, we can always listen to it later, and that's what's
Can hear
most
enough to
important.
hear it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Go ahead, please.
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. Can you hear me better now?
A little, but we can hear you.
Okay, I will proceed. First of all, Catherine Adelaide, a member of the Carroll County Republican Central Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today and virtually, and for Chris and all the staff. We know something would come up, but usually it's always great and working, and always thrilled to hear, and I know my constituents are, from the government. We can always do better. That's just a great statement. I was glad to hear it. Okay, I'm going to kick off with a great pro-life report. On September 16th, Lila Rose, who's the president of the Live Action, a leading national human rights organization, debated at Yale University. It was a historic debate, and she was inspired by Charlie Kirk. And she believed that the Charlie Kirk effect was in place when she received a vote of 60 to 31 and won the debate on should abortion be legal. And of course, her answer was no, it should not. So anyway, if you get a chance, you might want to go back and listen to that. Also, Maryland Right to Life, our banquet will be November 6th. You can go to Maryland Right to Life and get more information about that. Okay, a really big local news in the Central Committee, as you have a new commissioner, which the CCRCC was tasked to fill. So we now have a new Carroll County Republican Central Committee member. You should have received notice from our chair, I think on Tuesday, late Tuesday. But I'm very happy to publicly announce Dawn Nee, Esquire, as our newest member. Congratulations, Dawn. Our applicant-elect, who will be sworn in tonight at our regular monthly meeting at 6:30 at the Westminster Senior Center. You are all invited to attend that. I want to back up for a minute and just say that we conducted interviews on Tuesday the 23rd. I want to thank all the candidates. We had great candidates. I mean, this was a tough decision. We did 4 rounds of voting, and I think Charlie Kirk would be very proud of the committee, the debate that went on in the committee after the interviews that finally led to, we were able to make a decision. Otherwise, the chair would have been able to appoint down the road, but she really pressed for us to come to a conclusion, and we did. So, again, I think Charlie would have been proud of us. Our former member, Kathy Allison, also would be very happy with her successor. They were good political friends. I think one of Dawn's great strengths is she's a licensed attorney, will be as a mediator. And she was pretty much the only one who could answer the constitutional duty of the Central Committee to fill Senate and representative legislative vacancies. And our statutory duties, there are 2 of them, Board of Elections, and as you know, and I didn't know until we just did it, appointing a commissioner vacancy. So thank you to everybody involved, and I hope we'll see you tonight. And then finally, I want to promote our Lincoln Reagan dinner, Thursday, October 23rd. Our speaker is Congressman Scott Perry. You can go to ccgop.net/dinner to get your tickets, and I hope we'll see a commissioner's table at our dinner. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Admin session open. Does anybody have anything they want to add?
No, sir.
Agenda. Good morning.
Morning, Wanda.
How are you?
Okay, Monday, September 29th shows nothing. On Tuesday, at 8 a.m., Commissioner Garen's Chamber of Commerce breakfast, and 1, 2, 3 of us want to pay to hear you. We're ready.
No pressure. No pressure.
On Wednesday at 6 p.m. is Planning and Zoning, Commissioner Gordon. On Thursday, 8 a.m., closed admin, 9 a.m. open session. In Priority Carroll, we have another retirement. Request to hold a public hearing for Maryland Cannabis Administration. Oh, it's also Residents' Rights Month. I thought that was a continuation of the last page. So, yeah, we have one more thing in Priority Carroll. Amendments to local management board bylaws, presentation of local care team, annual report, managed cloud support services, stormwater pipe, airport consulting services at Carroll County Regional Airport, approval of additional costs for design and service. And I guess my question would be, of what? What are they designing and doing service on?
I saw that earlier. I had the same question. We will know before
Um,
Friday.
Buy 2 Ford trucks, buy 2 Ford cab trucks, approval to purchase 3 Freightliners, and a 2025 CAT landfill compactor, public comment, open session, agenda review. Friday shows no activities. Saturday, celebrating America Fall Expo, Commissioners Gordon, Krebs, and Vigliotti. MDOT road dedication, Commissioners Gordon and Kyler. And Commissioner Gordon has the podcast.
Oh, and not that it matters because the agenda won't be around next week, but I will not be able to make the Fall Expo because I had a previous engagement which I did not remember, and that was for New Windsor's Music on the Main. So I will not be attending the History Expo. So I hope that Commissioner Gordon, Commissioner Krebs will remember me to everybody that day.
Okay, the following week, Monday, October 6th, no activities. Tuesday, no activities. Wednesday, Farm Museum Board meeting, Commissioner Vigliotti. Community College Board of Trustees, Commissioner Kyler. Board of Education meeting, shows no one. On Thursday, closed admin, open session, Priority Carroll. Public hearing for application of Springboard Community Services. County Code updates, solar and energy storage devices. Discussion for expanding the scope of turf field project at the community college. Electrical service upgrade at Liberty Water Storage Tank. Passage of a bond resolution. Public comment, admin session open, agenda review. At 5:30, there's an open house. Commissioner Kyler will attend. On Friday, shows no activities. Saturday, Westminster Fire Department open house on John Street, shows no one. And at 1:30, the 10th anniversary of True Ambassadors of Carroll County Farm Museum, Commissioner Vigliotti. Sunday, shows Commissioner Guerin has the podcast. And, and I guess I'm on the calendar for this. I don't care if it's public, but the 6th Annual Crab and Oyster Feast at Hampstead, I will be at 1 p.m. Anything else?
I just have a question. Not anything wrong with this, but at some point, can we get together and decide like what big things we want to talk about?
I can't hear you.
At some point, can we all get together and talk about which big items we prioritize to get on here every week, like in the future, and plan them out? Like instead of just all administrative stuff, if we could like each week have something that's of like substance, like policy-wise, then we can decide which are our most important things to talk about and just plan it out. Like here's everybody's interests, and then here's these 20 topics, and then let's prioritize them. So, because we're working 2 weeks out, and I don't want to just throw something on here, but it'd be nice if we collectively decided what are our priorities to come back to us.
And technically, any one commissioner can ask for an agenda item.
And I appreciate, and we can do that, but it would nice, but collectively to say, what are our priorities collectively? And then if we agree, let's try to get some of them planned out for the staff.
Who's the admin?
Or, either way, you can't build individual agendas in closed, but you could certainly, talk about that kind of thing in closed or open.
Talk about the process.
Or, what our priority of subject matter to talk about, not the subject, but the subject matter.
Yeah.
So just because I'm new on board and I'm trying to get everybody, and try to get myself up to speed on things as well.
And any other items? And I need a motion to go into closed for legal and then adjourn.
So
Yes,
moved.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Joining us in legal, in case anyone's watching, is Andrew Meehan. He's the attorney representing us in the Public Service Commission cases on Fanny Dorsey Road.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, motion
So
to
moved.
go into close and then adjourn thereafter.
Second.
I have a motion, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.